And then Cole saw the drums, so he wanted to go see the marching band. And Kevin is like, we were like, let's get Kevin in the car because he's little. And he was not having that, so he comes out and he's like shivering. I'm like, okay, we gotta go. And he's like, no! I'm like, we have to go.
What is the 111 after your name? Are you Ken Pacheco the third?
No.
You are now.
Not that I know of.
We just have to wait 2 minutes. We don't want to start early.
Did it say the third? I didn't catch
Yeah,
it.
it was
like a 111 next to you.
Uh-oh, Ken.
Oops. Oh, what a day. It was. I know, good. I should have made myself a coffee.
You didn't get one?
Well, it was like after today.
I stopped asking Karen because she never, like after
yeah.
2 years, like she never wants one, so I'm just like...
I know, I'm usually like, if I drink...
see this Ken with the third.
Who is Ken Pacheco the third?
Imposter!
Does he know he's our selectman?
Well, let me just make sure that's, no, I'm not the third. We should face those the other way.
That you can double check who you are. Very good.
Do we have agendas for the public? Do you know?
They're available online, but I don't know if we have a...
I meant to mention that before, 2 minutes before the meeting started, but I meant to mention it.
Are you all able to access it online? Like on the website, the agenda? You were all able, or got the email, right? Okay, just making sure.
I know in the past we've had agendas here, so.
I used to do it, but I threw so many away.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody ready?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your weekly Board of Selectmen's meeting. It's Wednesday, November 28th. This meeting is being audio and video recorded. It will be broadcast live on Channel 9. It will be repeated on Channel 9 throughout the week, starting on Friday, I believe. And it will also be put on YouTube in perpetuity. And at this time, I ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask for a moment of silence in memory of Robert Brazil. Mr. Brazil was a longtime resident of Dayton, and he's the former owner of what was Brazil's package store on Route 44, which is now Route 44 Liquors. And in his memory, I would just ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And our condolences to Mr. Brazil's friends and family. And as is customary, before we begin our agenda in earnest, do we have any public input this evening?
Yes.
If you, yep, and just state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Leah Quinn, 758 Council Oak Way, and I am the resident who initiated the recall of Selectwoman Goulart. I stand here tonight in hopes of starting a conversation of how we as a community can work together to ensure that behavior of elected officials in this town should be held to the highest expectation. As you all know, 785 concerned residents stood up, took action, and expressed concerns with the behavior Selectwoman Goulart has demonstrated in many Board of Selectmen meetings. The time to start setting the bar for appropriate conduct going forward is now. These concerns matter, and these residents matter. Our elected officials should be the foundation for which an example is set for this town. You are representing the voters. You are working for the voters. We believed in you when we voted for you. It is our right and responsibility as the people who elected you to demand that you will be held accountable for your conduct. If the elected official's behavior in question does not improve, or if a recall effort against them, such as this one, is not successful, we the voters must not forget this the next time we go to the polls. In some cases, the actions and behavior of an elected official can reflect the exact opposite of what in fact makes this town great. Representing this town as a selectman is a privilege given to you by the voters. Please do not forget that. Your conduct and behavior must be held to the highest standard at all times. Anything less is irresponsible and, quite frankly, an embarrassment to this town. The time to reflect on your past behavior is now. The time for self-awareness is now. I am asking the three of you to please take these concerns seriously. Choose your words carefully, stop interrupting, but instead listen, and speak with respect to each other going forward. Mrs. Goulart, with all due respect, your many years served on the Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, Stormwater, and all the other efforts and accomplishments you have made for this town do not excuse your behavior which publicly insulted, attacked, and mocked your colleagues. It is simply unacceptable. I am the mother of 2 small children who I teach every day, if they see something, to say something. I have sat in too many meetings and witnessed this behavior by you too many times. I could not continue to stay silent. Silence is complacency. This recall effort and the volunteers who helped me never once insulted, attacked, or mocked you. I continually posted on numerous social media sites and stated to the Taunton Gazette that this was never a smear campaign and that this group would never slander or defame Mrs. Goulart or support anyone who did. We always remained respectful and will continue to do so, and anyone who says otherwise is misinformed. So thank you, Nelson and Laurie DeMello, Donna Zografos, Jason Quinn, and former Selectmen Edward Reese and Jack Taylor for all of your help. I am proud of each and every resident who signed their name. I would also ask that it be made clear tonight by this board that all signatories of this recall will not experience any repercussions from this board or any other boards and inspectors of this town. Lastly, I would like to thank Mrs. Aronstein for representing this town with such grace and professionalism in every Board of Selectmen meeting, especially at times that were challenging. We need more Mallory Aronsteins in public service. Now more than ever, women need to support and lift each other up in the workplace. I commend you in doing just that. As every conversation I have had in Town Hall with you and with other elected officials and employees all have nothing but lovely things to say about the work you are doing. In the year you have been here, you have implemented and worked tirelessly on policies that this town so desperately needed. Please know that you have the respect and support of so many residents, and Dayton is lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's more than appropriate if you don't have to say anything, if you'd like to.
I
You're
do.
more than welcome.
First of all, I think it's, thank you for coming forward. I wish you'd have done that months ago. This is the first time you and I are actually having a dialogue about what you consider to be my unprofessional behavior. Because prior to that, prior to you taking action against me, we have never even had a discussion about anything other than a Board of Health complaint relative to our schools. I certainly agree that the Board of Selectmen has to have professional behavior. And you mentioned the 700 and some odd people that signed the petition. I also want to bring to the attention of the residents of the community all of the people in this town who did not sign the petition and the divisiveness that has occurred in the town. And I really think if you and I had spoken sooner, there wouldn't have been a need for a recall. I have never refused to speak to anyone in this town. I am going to respond to the allegations because the public is demanding me to do that. My Facebook page, it'll be on there eventually, but my Facebook page is not for bashing people or backstabbing. It's basically to provide information to the residents of the town. And absolutely going forward, I look forward to working with all of the boards and committees. And as I've said before, this board does not control all elected officials. And I know you've had complaints, or you've made complaints about other elected officials, so I will only talk about being a selectman and what we actually have control over. I will say going forward, I think this entire board needs to look at its behavior. Many people in town felt it was appalling that 2 members of this board would sign a petition to have removed without meeting with me, even one-on-one, or in a private session to discuss it. Now, the other thing I will say is I wish to thank the thousands of people in this community who have supported me, who have encouraged me, who have told me not to give up, who have told me to continue to work towards for the benefit of the town of Dayton. And I tell you tonight, I absolutely will continue to work. I will uphold my oath of office, which I was accused of violating. And I will continue to do the job that I said I would do when you put me in office. So from this point forward, I expect we're going to see professionalism across the board. So thank you.
I didn't plan on saying anything, but I will say one thing, if that's okay, and then
Sure.
You can respond. I don't think it's my job to have a discussion with one of my colleagues about their behavior, and I'm just speaking in general. I am a colleague, not a babysitter. It is not my job to tell somebody when I feel like their behavior is unbecoming of the office that they were elected to hold. I lead by example. That is how I lead. I'm not here to have private discussions which could fall under violation of open meeting law. We're not supposed to discuss things amongst each other privately. So I will continue to conduct myself in a professional manner. I will continue to have high expectations of my colleagues, and I will continue to not be the harbinger of people's personal behavior, nor a babysitter. This is the Board of Selectmen, not the Babysitters Club. Selectman Pacheco.
Yeah, Mrs. Quinn, I just want to thank you for your effort in trying to have the recall be successful. There were 785 registered voters that supported the recall. I was one of them. I'm not embarrassed or ashamed of that. I didn't think it was necessary to personally talk to my colleague regarding my concerns. You've been very vocal, very professional in what you've done as far as the recall. You've stated your positions. There's been no response the other way. I don't think it was necessary for you to have to personally speak with her. You've been at many of the meetings. In fact, I think you've been at virtually every meeting since I've been a selectman here. I will make sure, if I hear of anybody being punished or anything regarding those that signed the recall, I am totally opposed to any repercussions for that, and I will see to it that if I hear of it, that a formal complaint will be made. I will continue to be professional as a select person, as I believe our chairperson has been. If I see anything as a selectman during the course of a meeting, I will talk about it. I will always have respect for Mrs. Goulart, and I have in the past. I've supported her in the past. I didn't necessarily support her the last election, but I supported her in the past. I supported the recall, and I want to thank those that went through the process. Mm-hmm. I've been with you several times. I've seen you explain to the public, to people, your position on the recall. You were very professional. You weren't intimidating. You weren't threatening to any of those. I know of people that have made threats on the other side. Mrs. Goulart was not one of them. I don't want to imply that she had anything to do with that at all. But I just would thank the group that tried to make the effort, and hopefully there won't be another reason in the future to have a recall.
And I just wanted to add, not only will there not be repercussions on the individuals who chose to willingly chose to sign the petition, but there will be no recourse for anyone who didn't want to sign the petition. That is not my job. We all have our individual beliefs. We all believe what we want. We believe in who we want. We vote for who we want. We have faith in who we want or lose faith in who we choose. And so I would never do that to anybody on any side of any issue, so.
I just asked that because there were a lot of concerned residents who feared signing because of repercussions.
Yeah.
And I did bring a matter to all three of yours attention of an elected official who was going around and instilling fear. And I know you don't have control over elected officials. However, I think in your position, you could absolutely speak against that type of behavior and not supporting it.
Absolutely, and I think all three of us have behaved in a manner, in terms of with the public now, I'm just talking about with residents, that's not how any of us behave. Selectman Goulart, myself, Mr. Pacheco, Selectman Taylor before that, so obviously Mrs. Aaronstein, Mrs. Brady. Anything you wanted to add?
I did respond to that email that you sent, and I told you exactly what you could do. That was not being facetious.
No, my email to the board, I was asking you guys to take a hard look at how this behavior is a problem.
Right.
And your response was for me to recall that individual, not
Because
that you don't support that.
Because that was, we as a board cannot discipline
I didn't ask you.
an elected official. Well, that would be our only recourse, if we could.
You could actually have responded and said, you don't approve of that kind of behavior. That would have been enough for a concerned resident such as me coming to my Board of Selectmen saying, listen, here's some proof behind it. It's unacceptable, bottom line. These are people that are voted in by the residents. They represent us. That behavior, whether you agree with it or not, should not be tolerated. That's all I was trying to make a point of. I never once in that email said, Selectwoman Goulart, you need to do something about this person. I asked you, all three of you, to take a look at how this behavior is a problem in this town. And maybe we could implement a policy of social media with our elected officials.
That is on our list.
It's on its way. It's actually, I mean, just to
Because I
respond.
think there are a lot of blurred lines around what these individuals, and I'm not saying all, because I've never had a problem until now. Being, facetious, insinuating fear, instilling fear, it's dangerous, and it's not behavior that you can dignify. You just can't. And you need to have a firm stance on that when it's brought to your attention. No, that's unacceptable, plain and simple. I would want to know, as a mother, that was happening. Never mind someone who's sitting on a board making decisions for the residents in this town. That's all.
The policy is actually not only for elected officials, it's a public employee policy across the board. But that's in the works.
It's actually written. It just, because it affects employment, we have started this policy review board. I'm just waiting to compile a couple other ones so that we can do them hand in hand, and the holidays are a little bit getting in the way. But it's written. I can share it to you if you'd like to look at it. It's obviously not been submitted to them, but I can send that too.
Yeah, there will be a social media use, a computer use, and like an email communications use.
Right, and where they
something
all
that
relate
effect.
to each other,
Yeah.
that they would all just sort of work together to achieve the mission we're looking to achieve.
My hopes for the town of Dayton is that now we move on, that we all, not only 700 people, the thousands of people that are out there, that we all come back together and be the town of Dayton we were before this divisiveness took place. I think it's unfortunate, and in all honesty, we have an election every single year, and people can vote one way or another. And another thing, quite frankly, is we need more people to run as candidates. And I'm not criticizing anyone who has run, but it's difficult to get candidates also because of the commitment that is made. But going forward, I'm saying to my colleagues, meaning Brett and Ken and Mallory and Karen. I see us all working together. I see us all doing what is best for the town of Dayton. And I feel that that is the way we're going to bring our town back together. And I'll make that commitment right now tonight.
Can I just make one more
course you
comment? I
can.
know that we can't do anything about an elected official, but we can take into consideration when it comes to appointing these same people who may be on other committees or other boards. So I know that I'm going to take that into consideration when we do our reappointments
Absolutely.
in June.
Without
But we can't
question.
do anything as far as the elected officials. So just so you know,
Yep,
there is some action we can do, we can take.
And I just want to say too, this recall effort did not create divisiveness. It didn't just start because I decided to pull out a recall petition. There has been many years of divisiveness and unbecoming behavior that has been going on within the walls of this town hall. So I find it a little offensive to, ensue that the divisiveness in this town is because a resident decided to stand up and say enough. And I am proud that at least those actions are now creating a civil conversation to move forward. And that's how I'm going to look at it, as this needed to happen for the betterment of this town. Because too many things have been happening publicly in these meetings that don't represent a lot of the residents in this town. They don't like what they're seeing. And, you might have thousands of supporters, and I might only have gotten 785 signatures, but those 785 people matter. And
Every voter matters.
But they matter too.
Every voter.
You are right.
Every.
But that divisiveness did not just start on October 9th, 2018.
We've had 4 selectmen resign in the last, how many years?
5, 6.
5 or 6 years?
Well, maybe we need to start to revisit why that is happening.
I feel like we're getting a little off topic, and quite frankly, I feel a little uncomfortable talking about something that was kind of like a personal decision, whether you wanted to support it or not. And I don't like putting my colleague on the hot seat, even though we are public officials, we answer to the public. But what I will say is the fact, I feel like you're proving the argument, the fact that so many, I'm not pointing blame, but the fact that so many good, decent people have run from this town hall and resigned tells me that there was already division, there was already a sense of divisiveness that people didn't want to deal with, and that's probably also why people aren't running for selectmen like we might all hope. I want to go to Mr. DeMello, and then I'd like to move on. We have a long agenda.
Sure.
Yes,
Just
sir.
a point of clarity, Selectman Goulart mentioned 785 people that voted, and she was thanking the others that didn't. I just want to clarify that just because they didn't sign doesn't mean they were against the recall. It means we didn't get to them. Some of them, of course, are her supporters, but some of them we just didn't get to. So just to clarify, I don't want this on record that thousands of people were against the recall and only 785 were for it, because that's absolutely not true.
I didn't say that.
Sure.
That's a misinterpretation. All I said was,
Misunderstood.
of those other people who didn't sign, they're good people, just like the people that you said signed your petition. And they're people that want this town to move forward. They're supporters of this town. And no, they probably don't support me personally in all the things that I've been involved in, but what we know is, and what I'm looking forward to, and I think a lot of people are, let's bring it back together.
Absolutely.
Yes, agreed.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Anybody? Speak now.
I do have something Republican,
Madam
but not on
Administrator.
this.
No, I understand. Madam Administrator.
This is regarding the food pantry. Just a quick announcement. The Lions Club asked me to do this at the start of the meeting. So the food pantry normally has they give their dispersal at the third Saturday of the month, but in December it's the 15th, which is not the third Saturday, but December 15th from 8 to 9 in the morning here at Town Hall, the lower level. They also do a distribution for Lincoln Village residents to help
yes.
make that easier for them, and that's 8:30 to 9:30 for the Lincoln Village residents. So
Oh, I
8
thought
to
it
9
was the
here.
same time.
No.
Okay.
8 to 9 here, Town Hall, lower level, and if you are a resident at Lincoln Village, 8:30 to 9:30 for you. If you have any questions, you can contact the Lions Club. They also wanted to let us know about their annual toy distribution, which will be on December 18th at Dayton Middle School. We just have to get some clarification on the hours, but it is broken up into two groups, the parents and the grandparents. But that will be on our next agenda. But if you have any questions, again, you can contact the Lions, or you can contact me, and I'll send along the information.
Just for clarification, the 15th is the third
Oh,
Saturday
it
of the
is?
month.
Oh,
I
good.
think they have it the fourth Saturday, so I think that's,
Oh,
I think that-
Special. I think you're right.
I think the food bank is the fourth, and that's
Well, we'll
actually the
get this
third.
straight for next
Yep.
meeting.
But anyway, it's on December 15th anyway.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure we get that online as like a recurring event every month, so everybody is well aware. No, that's a good point. Okay.
Thank you for that.
And one other announcement, no bears, no
The Sojourn
bears,
Bears?
no bears in December.
Like, what kind of bear are you talking about? Grizzly,
Sojourn
black?
bears, no bears.
All right. Okay. So, first item on the agenda tonight is to review the procedure for contacting town council. I did request this item be on the agenda. The reason I requested, so this is not controversial. It was brought to my attention with the policy manual from 2016, which is kind of what we're operating under. This was already in there. We had sort of had an informal, no, I guess it's formal, it was at a meeting, back in April. I believe Selectman Taylor was still on the board at that time, about how we wanted all the information to flow through the town administrator. Think of a pyramid. I have concerns about not just other members of this board contacting town council, not only without the town administrator knowing, but just kind of directly. Other employees, also like other department heads contact town council. I think we need to get a grip on this, so that all of the information is flowing through the town administrator or the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, and I may not be the chairman after this year, so this is not something that's going to benefit me in any way. So I asked a letter be drafted so that we can send to David Gay, sort of as a directive to say that you going forward are only going to be contacted by either the chairman of the board, whoever that is at that time, and or the town administrator. So with that, I don't think this is too controversial, so 5 minutes I think is enough to discuss. Selectman Goulart.
We can't do that because elected officials, if they have money budgeted, have the right to contact town council, as we found out when we were discussing the change in the work hours, and they asked for a ruling.
I recall that.
And that ruling was issued because that particular department had the money. And so you can't prevent an elected official from contacting town council if they have the money to pay for the
That
opinion.
makes sense.
Now,
Do we know
but
which-
if they, yeah, we do.
Okay, so we know which departments have their own separate,
Yeah.
Many of them do.
The only thing that has been required in the past is that if for some reason your department or board requires legal opinion, assistance from a specialist, you must request of town council permission to bring in a specialist for whatever area it is.
Absolutely.
And he's always given permission, okay?
So I have a question then. So our town council is not on retainer? It's a
Hourly rate.
yeah.
hourly rates, so every time we contact them. I know that the zoning board of appeals, which is not an elected board, it's an appointed board, we had a situation where board members would call our council that we have for the ZBA, and the bills were piling up, so we had it, only the chairman would make the phone call, unless the chairman delegated to that person the opportunity to speak with our council. So I do support what you're trying to do here is, whether Mrs. Goulart's correct or not, I'm not sure, so we need some clarification on that, I guess.
The only committees that were, or boards, whether elected or appointed, that were allowed to have special counsel with gay and gay permission, that I'm aware of, were planning board and zoning. And the only other board that brought in special counsel was when we had labor counsel brought in, or if we were dealing with a particular, going back further, a particular issue that needed, I'll say, a certain kind of lawyer. It's like It's like if you have to go for surgery, you gotta make sure the surgeon is a specialist in the field, so that's what I'm thinking of. Because I know that MCAD sticks in my mind, and it was not Gay and Gay that handled that. So, but those are rare events.
The sewer commission is another one that has their own, because they will find somebody who specializes in that. We did the same thing for the cable license agreement. We got an attorney that specializes in that. And as long as you have town council's authority and okay on that, then you are good to go. Where I think this is, just this past month, there were 3 instances of other boards contacting town council that we are generally on the hook for because it's our budget. And where I land on this, you did ask for this, but where I land on this is it's not fair if you don't tell me that you're going to be expending our budget, why should we have to pay for that? That should come from you. So I think it should be communicated that, to Selectman Goulart's point, if the boards have their own special counsel, that's not really where that
Yeah, like planning
ladder.
has
And if-
meet in
Yeah,
town.
yeah.
and-
If
yeah.
the elected officials need to do their thing and they have it in the budget, that's one thing. But if the Board of Selectmen is on the hook to pay that bill, I think it's 100% in your purview to
Okay.
establish rules. I think you might be looking for it, Selectman Goulart, it's 203. And it's a little bit, I actually have on my sheet to strike it, but I don't really want to do that. I want to update it. This is a little overkill. I mean, I think we can do
I
this with
looked
a
at the one that
I
was
know.
in the book, and I thought, I don't know where it came from, because that's really not what's happening.
No.
I think it's one of those leftovers from somebody else,
I
another
agree.
community.
I agree. So I think part of, and you're going to vote on this in a minute, part of the recommendation here would be to generate some sort of policy or directive. I don't even want to call it a policy because it's a directive of who's able to contact town council. So if you have the discussion, and I can just sort of amass all of your points and create a directive, come back on the 12th.
I think we should still do something with this letter because, let me ask you this. Is there any language we need to tweak? Because I would also just like in general, like even next year, like let's say I'm back to being the clerk or a member, whatever, of this board. I still want it to be that the town administrator or, like, I don't want members of the board just writing David Gay.
Right.
And I'm sure he doesn't want to hear from me, so.
Makes sense. I
So
think it makes sense to keep a handle on it.
I guess what I'm asking you is there any tweaking of the language of this letter that we're going to send to David Gay? Does there need to be an amendment to this?
I think if you added language about
Excluding,
if the intent is, somehow concisely say this, if the intent is for the Board of Selectmen, the town council budget to pay for the services, they need prior approval.
okay.
Do we have the letter in our package?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's right
Oh.
here. Okay, so how should that be if there's a motion? Do you get what I'm saying? Because you'll have to add that in.
The
That's
letter.
not
Yeah, so you
explicitly.
need, what you need to do right now is decide how you want your policy to be, or your directive to be.
Okay, the first paragraph is the problem. I was on the board less than 6 weeks, back in 2007, and a situation arose that was so serious, and the chairman was away on vacation, that I had to contact the town council, and as a result of that, we held an emergency meeting.
Was there a town administrator at that time?
No, this was '07.
Were you the vice chair? Or, excuse me, the clerk?
Well, actually, we were Board of Selectmen, Board of Health, and I was clerk for both boards.
So if you were the clerk, you would act in the absence
Yeah,
of the chairman
acting
anyway.
chairman.
So you were totally within your
So
rights
that's
to do
covered.
that.
I'm literally writing down.
So should we be taking action tonight on this, or do you want to wait for?
That's up to you. It is coming up soon in the update on the policy review manual. So if you want to just marinate with this for a
What's
little
our
bit.
next, is it next week we're meeting?
No,
No.
Oh, December 12th.
2 weeks.
Oh, it's December, we got 2 meetings.
Back to back.
Okay,
12th and 19th.
okay, I haven't finished reading it.
Yep. There you are.
I'm sorry.
So I think what we need to do or what we should do, I shouldn't say need, that's me being subjective. I think what we should do, since, remember, everyone, this is already a policy. This is already what we're working under, so I think we need to figure out the language right now and then take a vote. I don't care which direction it is. But if this letter, we don't vote on that, then we're going to whatever, and remember, we didn't write this language, this
Yeah,
is
but
from
we aren't
another town.
following that anyhow, Brett.
So we should probably try to get some language so we can follow it going forward.
I'm going to make a motion that we bring this, we move it to the next meeting, so I have a chance to look at, in that book, because I started reading it, and I says, we don't do that. So that we can, so that we can have a draft policy, and we do everything all at the same time, the letter, the draft policy, whatever it is we're going to do, in one fell swoop. Whoosh.
Is that, it's in section 2, right, 203?
It's 203.
Okay.
It is a little bit hit you over the head.
It's like,
It's long and lengthy and silly, and just all you need to communicate is who's going to be able to speak with town council, what you have to do to get approval to speak with town council in special circumstances. So it's a simple thing. Generally, most of the department heads know that they need to seek prior approval for anything that comes under your budget,
Yeah.
because if it wasn't authorized by you, you're not going to sign the bill to pay it. And the town accountant won't process it, so.
Selectman Pacheco, what do you think this evening? You're in the hot seat.
I'm in the hot seat. I think
Because
we
it's
ought-
at a 3.
I do think we ought to act on it tonight,
I agree.
and I'm not sure how the wording of the motion would be. to
Well,
act
what
on it
I was-
tonight, but I have not seconded Mrs. Goulart's motion.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
No, we don't have a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you motioned
No,
to.
he's not going to second it, so the motion dies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why I think you were asking. for
Yeah, I
just a
was just
second. Yes,
getting,
yes, yeah.
it was like more official,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we really don't officially have a second. Okay, so now we're stuck with figuring out where we're gonna add this little sentence. What I think we should do, and again, not an attorney and I don't play one on TV, but I think that we could add somewhere either comma here after this first sentence. The sentence is for the public. Please be advised that per a vote taken at the Selectmen's meeting on Wednesday, November 28th, 2018, you are to only respond to inquiries made by either the town administrator or the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, comma, or maybe separate sentence, if the intent to pay for those inquiries is to pay for those inquiries from the Board of Selectmen's town council budget, that would require prior approval, and that was awful, but something to that effect.
And I think that achieves what you're speaking about.
I so move.
Oh, I can't make that motion. You have to make the motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we send this letter to Attorney Gay, and the first paragraph will be, please be advised that per a vote taken on the Selectmen's meeting on Wednesday, November 28, 2018, you are only to respond to inquiries made by either the town administrator or the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. If it is the intent to have the Board of Selectmen's town council's budget to pay for this, you need prior approval. Did we say who the prior approval had to be? Is it?
Well, if it's, it should be the Board of Selectmen.
From
It's not
either
my
the
budget,
town
yeah.
administrator or the Board of
Or-
Selectmen. I think we should
Okay.
just use that same language.
I might have butchered that, but
I think we got it.
Can you finesse that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second? I will step down and second that motion. Any further discussion on this agenda item?
I
colleagues?
prefer we have a policy before we send a letter.
Can we, I think we had briefly spoke about this morning when I called you, that our intent is to sort of mold this directive into more of a policy framework. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll use this to flesh out that section in the current policy manual.
Which is going to be talked about tonight.
Perfect. Well, I love when a plan comes together. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. I don't have a,
I got it. I'll take care of
mutilated
it.
this.
Yep.
I'm sorry. I'll sign the real one later.
Don't worry about it.
All right. Okay, colleagues. At this time, as is customary, I'm going to yield the floor to our town administrator.
Okay, good evening. So as I've mentioned, we are going to have an update on our policy review, our policy manual review. This manual exists, and it's a little not appropriate for Dayton in many ways, so we've been looking through it and making some recommendations. I gave you this sheet, and we have it larger if it's hard to read, so I apologize, but Sorry. That was loud. Sorry. We've only really gotten through 101 to 201. 201 is the employment policies where we realized we needed to do some extra work there. So in this spreadsheet, whatever struck out, it means it's done, complete. So items 101, 102, 103, this is my update for you, have all been taken over a little bit by the Board of Selectmen. It's this, do you need the larger one, Nancy?
Yeah, I
It's a
thought that's
little
what you
hard
were
to see.
printing.
Oh, no, I
It's just,
gave you
it's like very
Is it in
small.
one of these packages?
I don't believe.
I'm working off of what you have in your hand, but do you have the larger one?
You can use this one if
There
you
was,
want. This is like the original one she gave us last March.
But
This
it's
one's hard
since
for me
been
too.
updated,
This is
so,
the
yeah.
Yeah, that's, yeah, that was
Okay.
good.
I know it is hard to see.
So, 101 to 201 has already been voted on in March or April. And then since then, some other
101 and 102, right?
101, 102, all of this is
Okay.
the first
you-
chunk here.
You said 201, I'm sorry. I was just making
Right.
sure. Okay.
Yep, so 101
Yep.
to 201, this whole section, has been voted on. My notes tell you what's happened.
Mm-hmm.
So the first three come under the Board of Selectmen Rules and Regulations. Its third reading is tonight. We decided to remove a couple of policies that were there. We've decided to rewrite the committee appointments. That has been stalled because of some data stuff that we're looking at, but it's not been forgotten.
I would expect that would take, that's not something that's.
It's not pressing over everything else, yeah.
Some thought there.
And then the remote participation policy, we struck that. Then you have this large chunk of employee policy, so I just want to let you know where we're at with that. We've done quite a bit of work here. You did vote to strike a lot of this, and then we took the remainder and we updated it. We've provided the drug-free workplace, which you've got, the town vehicle use, which you've voted on, the social media policy, which is written, and we do have to just get that approved through a couple boards, but that's ready to go. The vacation request form is actually going to be discussed tonight. That's one of the items. Something else I'd like to do, number 201-002, I'd like to actually take a look at a organization, actually, I'm sorry, 003, I misspoke, I'm sorry. What am I saying?
That's the drug-free workplace.
003. I want to replace that with an organizational chart and a hiring policy. So there's some things to come there.
Okay.
And this status column just shows you where I'm at with those, much of which you know already.
I did just, and I know you're going to revamp this, and this is very minor, but I was just looking through the selectmen's appointments, and like it's just very outdated.
Yep.
I know you're
There's a lot
gonna,
of
you're gonna
people not
revamp
on
it, like
there.
there's
There's extra
committee
people.
names have changed and things like that.
Exactly. So that's a work in progress. So that's my update for you, and what I have for you tonight on top of that is I'd like you to take a look at sections 202 through 301, which I did print out for you and emailed you ahead of time, but I'll just quickly run through. So town meeting warrant schedules and postings. I'd like to strike this. It's mostly town bylaw. The Board of Selectmen can consider adopting a policy for article submissions if you'd like, but we're sort of moving on other areas with this. Where we revamped the budget process, we handle a lot of this, article submissions. We're working on five-year plans, and wish lists. We've been dubbing them right now. So we're sort of taking care of this. It's a work in progress, so I wouldn't necessarily adopt a policy right now because things are still in limbo. So I'm recommending that we just strike that. We've got other items that cover our policy, our procedure in that avenue.
Before we move on, our colleagues, are you okay with that? The reason I'm okay with that is because I think we do as a board need to retain flexibility with like article submissions, because sometimes research might be needed, you're coming down, you need to
Life
be
happens, yes.
so if it's written in a policy that nothing ever is allowed to be submitted or accepted for submission past this deadline, you're kind of
It also-
living and dying by that sword.
Right,
So,
I agree.
I'm sorry, Madam
No
Administrator.
problem.
Selectman
Okay,
Goulart.
so could we just, if you say strike section and give us the number so that we can do these,
Sure, and my next question,
instead of a
do
whole
you want me
bunch?
to do this,
one-
so just one at a
For
time?
example, if you say, my recommendation is to strike 202-001, then we vote on that, and then the next one
Okay,
is, so that we
sure.
know, instead of saying
Yes? Like I
all of
mentioned?
202,
Right. So my recommendation for this is to strike section 202-001 through 202-007.
Let me just quickly go through those, just to make sure.
oh, what about the petition one? That's,
Where's that one?
202-004. Petitions are kind of special.
And most of that is under state law. It would, if somebody needs to get a petition, much as we know, they'd go to the town clerk. It wouldn't necessarily come to the Board of Selectmen.
Please don't come here. I'm
It
not
just
gonna, I'm
seems
gonna
weird
look
that
at
it's a
you
Board of
like,
Selectmen
what?
policy. They're not gonna, their appropriate place is to go to the town clerk's office. She gives you the petition, advises you that you need to write exactly what you want to be placed there. So that's,
So the state statute that
Correct.
states how many
Right.
signatures you need for certain
Yes.
special town meeting or
right.
whatever it was.
My notes on this policy consist of strike, no, we don't do this. Not really BOS purview, redundant,
Sorry, Selectman.
and law already for most of these.
And I feel like that is
We've just gotta
correct.
wade through some of the stuff that bogs us
And
down.
I'm okay with that because I feel like this policy manual is more to govern the policies and procedures of the town. And I feel like things like petitions, that's more like a resident is doing that from a grassroots
Yeah.
manner. Do you know what I mean? And so I feel like it doesn't need to be in a town policies and procedures manual to govern the employees.
Right.
Like they're not starting a petition, so.
Do we have anything in our bylaw about how we handle petitions?
Petitions, warrant submissions and all of
Warrant
that,
article
yes.
petitions is what I'm talking about.
Well, there's specifically about warrant articles and various deadlines. It's not as specific as this, but petitions are, I mean, you need 100 signatures to put it on for this, you need 10 signatures on annual town meeting,
Correct.
like, so it's all state law.
And to your point, if anybody came to town hall and said, I want to put an article on the warrant by petition, they would go to the town
Town
clerk who
clerk.
would then explain
Right.
to them.
What the procedure
Correct.
is.
I know it's in state law. Do we have anything in our bylaws that
I don't
might
believe so
I've
about
create a
never-
problem?
petitions.
I've never seen
No.
anything for
Okay.
petitions on there.
Because must be submitted to the office of the selectmen. It has been done that way for years. And I know they have to go
So
to the town clerk.
They have to get their signatures certified by the town clerk, but if they want it on if a resident says, I want to put this on the warrant, they have to give it to you because you assemble the warrant. But if they make it on the warrant anyway, by petition, the town clerk's going to get it to you because it's
Yeah.
done by petition and she's certified the vote. So I just think it's
Okay.
needless here. I mean, you need it, but this is, doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I just think with things like, and this is just a general statement, and I feel like, we've wasted some time on things that are like state law directives that quite frankly, we can't change anyway. I feel like, to Selectman Goulart's point, we're either gonna not have that language in there, or if this board wants, we can just cite that. And then that's it. And then it's one sentence, please, for the procedure on submitting a petition to get an article on the warrant, see MGL, blah, blah, blah. I don't know which one it is, but I know it's there.
What was your ending number? 00 what?
007.
Yep.
It ends with warrant changes, that's what it's called.
So 006 is our warrant posting requirements, that's also state statute
And
requirements.
that bit is in your bylaw. Are you looking to do these one by one, or do you want me to keep going? with
No,
the next policies?
what
We
I,
should
Matt, no, it's
No,
okay, I'm sorry.
no, you're the chairman.
I just, what I want, because I want it to be orderly, is you go through. If we have changes or questions, ask them as we go through, and then we will take a vote at the end in a
Right.
block.
Okay. If we can move on to the next one.
Is that, what,
Oh,
is that
I'm
okay
sorry.
with everybody?
Well,
What I
are
was-
we, are we skipping some stuff that we're not going to strike or change?
Yes, I'm giving you all my recommendations on this chunk from the policy book.
Okay.
So I just wonder if
Some
we
are
should be
keeping.
voting on 001 through 007 now and
That's my
strike that.
point, because these are all 202s,
Yeah.
and then we go into 202A, so that's exactly what I was going to say. Like
Smaller
Finance Committee, and at town meeting, we say, if no one objects to this block, so,
That's fine with me. Are you okay with that, Madam Administrator?
so,
We're going one by one?
no,
No, in like a
My motion
block.
would be that we vote to strike sections 202-001 through 202-007.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second discussion. I think that's a little more manageable, and so I'm okay with that. Let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That motion passes. The ayes have it. Madam
Okay,
Administrator.
next is 202A. I actually have a note here to strike. It is the department, like the budget preparation policy. If you remember a handful of handful of weeks ago, I presented to you as one of my goals an updated process for FY '20. So that basically replaces this. We've already done it, basically, is
Okay.
what I'm
So
getting
I
at.
think for this, whoever's going to make the motion, if you'd like to make a motion, it should be something like to strike 202A and replace with the procedure that was previously approved by the Board of Selectmen. Is that okay?
I don't think we need to replace.
Correct. I'm with you. And also, we were gonna roll it out and see how we did.
And then
So I've
tweak it
kind of, it might be
if needed.
premature to totally adopt it, but
So what I'm recommending is that we keep going until we get through the end of 202A. And then, we'll go through those, and then the motion will be to, whatever we're going to do, to all the 202As through
so that, my recommendation is to strike every 202A.
Correct.
So
Okay.
So this would be the block.
this is the
So
block.
it'll be through 7. So this is the next block. So we just need to see if there's anything in these we want to,
We've got a timetable that
I
nobody's
don't-
sticking to.
I'm okay with striking it. I feel like that procedure that was outlined by the town administrator contains like a budget timetable and all that, and I think it's fine. I think we can comfortably strike that,
It's
personal
also more
opinion.
flexible because it doesn't, this says like April 10th, April 15th. Well, these days, might be a Saturday, who knows? So mine is more like mid-April or by,
And you
the
need
14th,
that
something like that. Right.
flexibility, as we know.
I got a question on 202A-003. What does that mean? I know you're going to recommend we strike it. Does anybody know what it means?
003.
One second.
Excluded matters.
Yeah.
Honestly, what I think this is a handful of tax deductions that apply to,
The Board of Assessors,
right, like
yeah.
there's certain, I think, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a judgment. The policy shall not apply to judgments, abatements?
No, judgments to me sound like some kind of legal action.
Right, like at the
But
appellate
it-
tax board or something? I don't know why
I
you
don't-
would have this here. But
no.
this is exactly the point of this thing.
Yeah.
Like, why would that be here under your purview? Like, you wouldn't be able to tell the Board of Assessors not to do that.
And that,
So-
again, falling under like a state, this is protected by the state
And
or
it's not,
outlined
so
by
it
the
can't be
state.
excluded anyhow.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
I feel like, just a quick caveat,
I've never
I
seen
do
that
feel
before.
like this level of detail would be really good for someone who literally knew nothing about government and somehow got
Come read
elected to
this
the
in
Board
their
of
spare time.
Selectmen.
Yeah.
Regarding 202A, the entire section, do my colleagues have any other questions before we move to a vote on that particular section?
Just one question on 202A-005, Responsibilities, Finance Committee. What do we have in there for, what do we already have for Finance Committee?
As far as their role, what do you
Because,
mean?
well, I'm looking at all of this.
Right, so, yep, they go to town meeting, they make their recommendations, they actually are in charge of assembling the budget. Like, honestly, if you did nothing, they would still have to assemble the budget and make a recommendation to town meeting. If none of you showed up.
Yeah.
They would still have to do it, that's their job. But for them to review not later than January 31st.
Oh, I wouldn't
is
do that to
outrageous.
them. Agreed.
It would be a waste of their time.
Well, 3 small eyes there, that doesn't happen either because we don't have the information to do it.
Right.
So,
So it's just,
And-
it doesn't fit. It's a square peg in a round hole.
okay.
And their process is sort of alluded to in your,
Not sort of, it is.
Yeah.
It is. So
I was being
how it
generous.
goes, I know, sorry. How it goes is all the budgets have to be in and submitted to the town accountant and myself by January 31st. The town accountant will assemble version 1. Version 1 is what's going to go out to the finance committee, to all of us. I'll make my recommendations, you'll make your recommendations. We send that over to the finance committee, and they review what you believe should be the budget, and then they make their decisions, and then it goes to town meeting.
I like it. All right, colleagues, since we have a long agenda, do we have any, I
don't have anything
am
else.
going to try to limit the discussion, but it's not, I'm not going to try to shut anybody off. You know that's not how I am. But I also don't want to have cable be here till 11 p.m. tonight. So that
So
being
how are
said-
you going to limit discussion but not shut us off?
Well, I'm hoping you'll be
I'm going to make a motion that we strike 202A-001 through 220A-007, that we strike that from the policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Madam Administrator, 203.
203, we're back to town council. From what I'm getting from the earlier discussion, we all believe this is a little bit of some overkill, and I'll just take what the discussion was today and generate I'm gonna call it directive, because it's gonna be like one, I don't wanna do a purpose and a background.
It should just be like a sentence or two.
This is what's going on, use of town council. I will do that and get that for you for the next meeting, if that is,
But we will vote this evening to strike it,
I would
knowing
strike
that
this.
we already have
Nobody does
that.
it, we're not doing this.
Okay. All
Right
right.
now, so I think that we're gonna strike this with the intent to provide a 1 to 2 sentence directive of what we're gonna do.
So
But we did approve that.
But we do appoint the town council.
We do.
Yes, but he should be under 106, which is the committees, boards, and
Correct.
commissions. Because
Correct.
he'd be with your regular
Those are the
appointments.
appointments. Yep. And we do that every
Year.
Yep. And we already have that directive in place, so it's not like
We're
there's
lawless.
nothing on the
Yeah,
books that,
exactly.
yeah, it's not going to be chaos. In fact, it's going to be much more streamlined going
Right.
forward.
I'm going to make
That's the point.
I'm
If
sorry.
we're ready.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I'm
I'm
sorry.
going to make a motion that we strike section 203-001 through 003.
I'm going to step down and second that motion. Discussion?
I still want to see the written policy for the section.
Hearing none, or hearing that, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. 204, Madam
This is
Administrator.
regarding the use of town-owned property. It segues into my next item in my report, which is use of the old town hall meeting space. I think we need to update this. There's a long section in here that talks about alcohol use and all of that. This can easily be consolidated. I would like to rewrite this, update it, and revise.
So you're not asking for us to strike this at this time, then?
No, I want you to know that
Yep.
it's too much, but we're gonna make it so that it fits. I also want to put together like this sign-off sheet. That's sort of going on right now. It's not working great, so we need to tweak it a little bit. But basically, if you wanna use a town facility, you should have to fill out a form, tell me what you're gonna do and who's
Agreed.
gonna be there. and we can go from there. That will determine if we need to further license them. If they're a nonprofit, would we waive their fee? All that kind of information. And I think we can easily put that into a one-page form with a small paragraph about using town hall and what it costs. However, I don't know if you want to take this time to discuss Old Town Hall, what our process would be for the meeting space, or just get through this and then revisit that.
Well, since we don't have any concrete language, I'm suspecting that we wouldn't actually act on this, is that correct? Until we got
Right.
language.
Exactly. That's just
Okay,
this is
then
my update. You're
I
right.
think we
Sorry.
can just wait to discuss it to when we actually have some sort of language that we can hash out tonight.
All right.
I mean, that night.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we move section 204. Do you want to do all of 204?
No, I'm sorry, if you could stop at 004. So 204 to 003 is what I would like to take and update.
That we,
But we don't have anything to update it with, so are we just skipping
Yep,
204
my
as a
recommendation is
section?
letting
We
you know
just
that
skip
I'm
and
gonna
not
write it.
strike.
Yeah.
Okay.
so that we move action on section 2004-001 through section 2004-003 to a future meeting.
I'll
So she's
second.
going to rewrite it.
Yeah, I'll second that
We have a
motion.
motion and a second discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstentions? The ayes have it, that motion passes.
204-004, I propose to
Yep.
strike because it is a regurgitation, a poor one, but of 30B section, first of all, it says chapter SOB, which gave me a chuckle. So we all hate it. But it's chapter 30B, section 16, about the sale of town-owned parcels. That has been updated since this, but it's got a slew of restrictions, and I don't think the town should be trying to recreate it. It's complicated enough with various caveats. So I would propose to strike that, and we would look to the state legislation, or the state statute, the law, to direct our efforts in those, in that.
No argument here. I am accepting motions
Okay,
pursuant
so
to
I'll
that.
make a motion that we strike section 2004, excuse me, 204-004 and reference MGL chapter, would you say 30B, section 16?
Right. Yes.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. And that was the last of section 204.
Right, 205 is municipal projects waiver of fees. This just says that you're going to consider fees on projects that are on, in, or upon town buildings or properties waived unless they by vote shall determine otherwise. I think you should always handle that. Well, I don't like how it says on, in, or upon town buildings. I just think it
What would you put
strict,
it?
because it makes you, this is gonna sound awful, but if somebody came in, say we had a water tower, I know that we don't have a water department, it's a bad example, but we have a water tower, and they wanna come lease and put on their, cell
Antenna.
tower antenna, and there's some fee related to that. The cell phone companies, or whoever owns these, have a ton of money, why should the town miss out on that revenue because we have this policy, because it's on a town building? Or town property, which would be a water tower in this example. So I think it's too restrictive, and you'll end up losing out on revenue that you potentially deserve.
So what language would you have in this sentence? Because I think we need, if we're not going to have it as is, then we should have something that we can approve tonight.
Honestly, just projects that are, how do I say this concisely? Something like, if we are purchasing it, right? Like, the Plimo vent is an item here. So the Plimo vent's going to be installed in a town building, Fire Station 2. We shouldn't have to pay a fee for that. So I don't want it to say, it's too broad, projects that are on, in, or upon town buildings. It should be projects funded by the town.
So municipal
Right,
projects.
funded by the town.
Well, don't say municipal, because there are other municipal things that happen in town that aren't the town,
right.
like the
So
water
it should
district
just
and
say
the school district.
things like projects funded by the town. I mean, I'm more the conservative part of me is more comfortable with you dealing with it on a case-by-case basis, but I can see where that's inefficient.
So it would
So-
say, the Board of Selectmen will consider fees on projects funded by the town unless they by vote shall determine otherwise?
Yes.
Okay.
Want to read that one more time?
Yep. The Board of Selectmen will consider fees on projects funded by the town unless they by vote shall determine otherwise. I like that.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen will consider fees on projects funded by the town unless they, by vote, shall determine otherwise.
Consider fees, or are we considering waiving fees? If the fees are in place, then we should consider waiving fees.
Well, right, that's what this says, waived unless they vote, right? I'm sorry.
Oh,
That
I
wasn't
missed
in there.
that word.
That
I'm
wasn't in
sorry.
there.
Oh, okay.
So,
Good catch.
all right, so, Mr. Pacheco, start reading what you said, and after consider, put waiving fees. Insert the word waiving after consider and before fees. And let's see what it
Yeah, the Board of
sounds like.
Selectmen will consider waiving fees on projects funded by the town unless they, by vote, shall determine otherwise.
It has to be at the end, because
Yeah.
this is saying, we'll hear it, we'll,
Yep.
plead your case. The Board of Selectmen will consider fees on projects funded by the town waived unless they by vote shall determine otherwise. So this means it's a standing policy that it's in, if it's funded by the municipality, it's waived, unless we say, wait a minute, not that one.
I'll try this for the third time.
It
is my motion. It is my motion.
Sorry.
Board of Selectmen will consider fees on projects funded by the town waived unless they by vote shall determine otherwise.
Yes.
We
Board of
have,
Selectmen will consider fees on projects funded by the town waived unless they, by vote, shall determine otherwise. Okay, yeah, okay. Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Not to make this more difficult, but, nope, never mind.
We can always
I have
change
no
it.
discussion. Nope, I have no discussion.
All right. All those, let's take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. 206.
Okay, so this came up a while ago, and it caused us a ruckus, so
No,
I
it
don't
wasn't a
know.
ruckus. It was one resident. So it was in their mind.
So I know that we talked about this. I think this is a very blasé policy and almost not needed where it is. At the meeting that you talked about it, you had said that the chairman having the authority is fine. Everything else would be governed by federal law for the
Well, I
for the
think, and I
flag.
think our recommendation at that time, and I know we didn't vote on this, was to just simply strike it and abide by the US flag code. So we just wouldn't have anything.
Exactly.
And we would just follow whatever federal law is pursuant to flags.
Right.
This American flag shall be displayed along Somerset Avenue.
Who wrote
Along
this?
Somerset
I know.
Avenue. We don't do that.
But you did have that idea, though.
Well, as a
I
matter of
remember
fact, Mr. Ferry mentioned that to me again, and I've contacted both National Grid and Verizon because...
To get them on the polls, just for
Because
people
The
watching.
area we're talking about is Center Street to the last pole up near Stonegate. So it would be
Oh.
basically past Town Hall, past the Veterans Memorial. And what I found out was, and I'm still waiting for details, because the poles are jointly owned, both National Grid and Verizon have to say okay. The other thing too is, there are certain sections in town where people have put flags on poles with flag holders. Those are not allowed. It's got to be, I'm going to call it a strap with a special holder, because they don't want you driving nails or screws
Into the
into
pole.
utility poles. So now, I'm only dealing with Verizon and National Grid because obviously TMLP doesn't service this area. But I know there are some up there, but that's not us. So I'm still trying to get information. But when I saw this, I'm thinking, we don't display along Somerset Avenue.
So I guess my question for you is, aside from that project,
I think we
which,
should strike this whole
which I think is
section.
a worthy.
Makes no sense.
It's-
So we
there's no
are,
point.
are we all in accordance that we should just strike it, abide by the US flag code?
Don't you think there, Are we talking about lowering the flag also? Is this, because I know that was a conversation, I
It
wasn't a
would-
select person,
so-
but I,
Right, that was a huge part of it. So this, technically, that is something that would fall under this item.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do think there are certain residents that pass away that we should lower the flag, quite frankly. And whether we determine whether it's a veteran that lived in town or someone who volunteered a lot of work for the town or something like that. I know the situation that we had, somebody had a concern about us lowering the town lowering the flag in the past. I think we ought to have some kind of a policy that we, whether it's the veterans agent who determines that we should lower the flag or something like that, but I do think we should have a policy for.
I guess I just feel like our veterans agent is already kind of making those decisions, so, or is already abiding by the US flag code, so like, why do we, I just feel like we're going to get into a situation where we write a policy and then we have to think of every scenario, and then we have to think of how long did you have to live in town? Did you have to be a selectman? Did you have to be on the
Yeah.
planning board?
I would exclude selectmen, quite frankly.
No, I agree, but, I guess we're going to get in a situation where we're going to have to clarify and clarify and clarify and clarify, and then it's just, I just think it's so much easier to abide by the US flag code, but that's my opinion.
Well, actually, we observe both the federal and the state, because the governor at times will order flags lowered.
That's true.
So it's both federal and state flag codes.
Yep.
I understand what you're saying.
I get it too.
Maybe we should ask Mr. Hershey, just, we're going to abide by the federal and the state. Have you got any suggestions? If not, it's whatever.
And we could get a situation where the flag is lowered all the time because these veterans
Agreed.
passing away.
That's
So,
what
I mean,
happens.
I
It
get
goes
that,
up,
so.
down, up,
yeah,
down,
so-
up.
I
Yeah.
do feel like, for the sake of this evening, so we have some work to do. We'll speak to our veterans agent and, look at what the federal and state laws specifically say, but this section 206 is about displaying flags along Somerset Ave, so I support striking
Strike.
this. Yeah.
I agree. I'm going to make a motion, then we strike 206-001 and, is it just 001?
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah.
And two.
And two.
And 2,
That's already a
002.
law, just so everyone
Yeah.
knows. That's about displaying it at night. It's going to be lit up, because that's what we
Illuminate,
have to do.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. 207, Madam Administrator.
This is displays of holiday decoration and focuses around basically what we've got going on right now, the Lights On Committee, and I found no reason to really change this, so I said to retain. It seems very much a Dayton thing, so I didn't have a problem with that. I will just say, while I'm thinking of it, I think this goes without saying, but just so you know, these numbers are gonna be obsolete once we put everything together. Okay.
Yeah, everything's gonna change.
I'm not gonna do 205-001, the waiver of fees. It's not gonna be called that
Of
anymore.
course.
It's gonna be called waiver of fees.
You mean you're not just gonna write random
Right.
things just to keep the numbering the same?
Make you
Should-
guess.
The only thing I would suggest is, from 2 weeks prior to Thanksgiving, we've never done that. It starts with the Saturday after Thanksgiving. See, this 2 weeks prior to Thanksgiving.
Oh,
But
yeah,
that's
no,
for
yeah.
the decoration, so if they put the decorations out.
Yeah.
It's the display of their decoration, so if they happen to
Oh,
prepare.
you mean set up?
Right, like put in these
Oh, yeah,
little homes, they do some early
Yeah,
prep.
that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're there early. That is true. I forgot about that little Weebleville down there. Okay. We didn't vote on this.
No.
Well,
We're
I don't,
keeping
it's
it.
just to keep
We're going
it.
to keep it.
Okay.
The next one is employee travel regulations. Review and retain is my, I know people are doing this, but we need to now compare this to all the travel lines in the CBAs, the collective bargaining agreements, and make sure that this is lining up and we don't have different rules for different people. That's
So
all.
we don't need to do anything because you're gonna
I'm gonna
tweak
do it.
it to match whatever the
gonna-
language is,
Right,
specific
well,
language in the specific CBAs.
I'm gonna review it to make sure that it's something that we should be doing. If we're not doing it already, I'm sure that we are. And then make sure that there's no disparities or conflicts with what's already negotiated in the collective bargaining agreements.
I have no problem with that. 209, Madam Administrator.
Annual business oh, here, these are the easy ones. We made it, guys. Okay. These ones are great ideas, but they don't fall under you. It's the Town of Dayton Annual Business Recognition Program. I know that you guys are
Oh,
not
we
doing
did
this right
that.
now, but I feel like
We
this
used
should be
to.
something that the Economic
we used
Development
to.
Commission should like recommend to you, and then we could have them in, but this is not, these award categories, so my recommendation is either to strike it or send it to the, strike it and send it to the Industrial Development Commission if this is something that they want to do. And that is the same, so that's for 209 and 210. One is the Business Anniversary Recognition Program, and one is the Annual Business Recognition Program.
I don't think we should strike it. We just
Yeah.
approved this relatively recently.
Because this is, it's
So
not
is it
even that it
being
was
done
approved
now?
recently. It was. I
It
don't think it
was.
was done last year, but
No,
it was done the
was-
first year I was
It was the
here.
Industrial
It
Development
was.
Commission that
It was.
proposed this.
It was
and we
Chairwoman Piazza who gave me a
Yes.
list of the
Yes.
businesses, like, yeah.
And
So-
awards were given out.
That is
So,
true.
okay, so then, can
I
this
think
be
we
a
sh-
program instead of a policy? And this
Yeah,
can
I'm-
just be something
I'm-
outside
I'm
of a
fine with that.
policy?
And
Well,
the
it is
reason-
titled a program.
But it's in this
I don't want it
policy
in this manual, and the reason is because what if, like, Chairwoman Piazza is a volunteer, like, she doesn't get money. Like, what if one year she got busy and just couldn't do this? Like, I think we should just let that commission figure out how they want to do that, and then let us know, and then we can have that discussion of. But
So take it
I'm
out of-
okay with getting it out of here.
Take it out of the policy book and
Yes.
put it under the control of the
Yep.
industrial
Yes.
development, okay.
That's my recommendation.
All right, I like that. Do we have any motions on 209 and 2010?
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we remove section 209001 through 210-002
Two.
from the policy manual and put it under the control of the Development and Industrial Commission.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second.
Excuse me, you know
Oh,
what, could
I'm
I
sorry.
just amend, instead of under the control, remove it and make it a function of the,
I like that better. Economic and industrial development.
yes.
Yep.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. And last
Last
on
but
the
not
agenda
least, so
for
item-
this, 301.
Right, 301. So 301 has a weird thing to it on item 007, so I'm going to handle that separately. So this is 301-001 to 301-006. This is the Disaster Committee, which is now the Emergency Preparedness Committee. A lot of this stuff they're working on, but working with the state, so this is actually not as accurate as it should be.
Okay.
My recommendation is to send this to the Emergency Preparedness Committee, who's meeting in January, and see what they want to do with this. I know they're kind of rocking and rolling with they probably don't even know this exists, but
Agreed.
I want to give it to them.
I agree. I agree with you 100%, and part of the reason I do is because my understanding is that this Emergency Preparedness Committee is a subcommittee of the Board of Health. I would actually prefer that they hash it out and put it into their policies and procedures manual that they are working on for the Board of Health, for the Health Department. I think, why would we let them do it because they're the qualified professionals to deal with health concerns, so.
Will the Board of Health policies be part of the overall town policy manual? Maybe a special section?
It's theirs, like, we wouldn't have, it's how they're gonna, oversee marijuana facilities, how they're gonna oversee their inspections. So we really wouldn't weigh in. It would be two separate documents, because our policies, a lot of them are about this action here, what happens here, what our rules are when different scenarios come up for personnel, what kind of behavior we tolerate and not for personnel. What else do we do? Like, just our things that we're in charge of. We're not in charge of the regulations. That should be a separate document. I wouldn't want to go through this just to find that the Board of, like, if I needed to find the Board of Health, I would want that to be separate. I wouldn't want to have to go through this full manual because I'm really looking for Board of Health regulations.
I
No, all I
totally
was
agree.
thinking of was if we have in the front, everything town of
Yeah, I know what you're saying, include
Town
it
of
in
Dayton.
there. I get
And then a
it.
whole section in the back, so that if you were looking, you would pick up one book, you would flip through just a tab, Board of Health, and you would have everything right there. That's all I'm saying, just one notebook or one document.
I'm not opposed to having it in the same binder
But
with
it
ours.
is Separate
As
tab.
separate.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, so, when I was on the Board of Health, I did take time to like go through, and we did that together, to go through the regulations and like make sense of like what had been passed over the years, what regulations had been
And we were
adopted.
doing that chasing stuff.
Exactly, and we had to do a lot of
So-
digging.
If we refer this to the Board of Health, and they can refer it to their subcommittee, it will end up as part of their Board of Health,
Rules and
policies, procedures, whatever.
Right.
And then when they get it all done, if they just hand you something that's all punched, that if it will fit in a binder,
I'm sure it will.
you know, just the tab in the back so that it's all there.
Yep.
No one in the future will be doing what we were doing.
Well, and then you're gonna get the questions of like, where do I find this? Why isn't this all part of one document? So, but I will say, when I did do like the draft manual policies and procedures when I was on the Board of Health, I did envision it as a separate document. Like it was not part of this at all.
Right.
So,
Oh, I agree, a separate document, like I say, but with a tab.
one place, yeah, I agree. It's just easier for people. They don't have to go digging in a separate place for that. So I'm okay with that.
Okay, so I will make a motion that section 301-001 through 301-006 be referred to the Board of Health for inclusion in their policy manual.
So we're not striking it, we're just, at this point, referring
It's not
it.
going to be under our
Yeah, we're removing it from
domain, so it's not
this.
in our, it's
So the whole
theirs.
Giving it
thing
to
is just
them.
being referred,
Yep.
taken out of our policy.
It should be in their manual. It really should.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second discussion. One quick question, why did we not include the 007?
Because I can't for the life of me understand why this would be part of the disaster
This-
committee's
yeah, this-
section.
this
It's
is like
called
a police
security cameras,
manual.
and so 301,
Yeah.
300 in this manual is public safety. So the disaster committee was coming under public safety. I can sort of see
Yeah.
that. But security cameras, policies, and procedures to be in the same, like 301 with the disaster committee makes no sense. It should have been its own thing.
Agreed.
So I looked through this, and it's just inaccurate. We don't have an information technology department. I wish we did. It also says the building maintenance department. That doesn't really exist. So this doesn't make sense. We are very, just so everyone is aware, if you are in a town building and it is, if there's surveillance going on, there must be a sign. And I don't really care for this policy. I'm not recommending totally to strike it. I'd like to review it and make a recommendation at a later date.
Yeah, we can do
But
that.
I wanted to
Let's
get the
do that.
disaster committee one over, so that's
Sure.
why this is included.
Okay, so we'll skip 007. We have a motion and a second to remove 301 through 301006 from our manual to give to the Board of Health to hash out. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Public, you can start looking again. This part of the
Sorry,
meeting is
I
done.
know.
So on 301, do you want this just referred for, to be reviewed and presented later or something? Is
Yeah,
that
and
what you're
that's on
looking
me. I
for?
don't need a motion for
I don't
that.
think we need
That's
to
just
take
gonna be
any
me
action.
to- No, you don't need
There's no
to.
Dayton School Committee anymore.
I'm glad you brought that up. So I'm like, you know what the best example of the fact that you know that no Dayton folks made this manual is? We don't have a Dayton school committee. So I don't know what town they were talking about.
And
Okay.
that is your update. You'll be getting another one, sorry, public, because this is my goal.
I
Okay,
feel like we made a lot of
But we
headway.
only
have.
moved one for review, we've only got one for review later on, for us.
well, on the books, because you're going to see some other ones.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
everything we did tonight. So you can send it to those other committees.
it's nice. You get them.
Give them homework.
Okay.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. I'm actually, do you mind if I go out of order just to get some of these done?
It's your
Okay.
floor.
So, great, we're going to skip B for a second. Establish a bylaw review committee. As bylaws come in, I think it is a wise decision to have a group of residents who can be appointed to a bylaw review committee. Their charge would be to review any proposed bylaws that are going to be coming before town meeting and make a recommendation. Part of their job would be to review for form, and also to see if it's something, like maybe a bylaw already exists, I don't know. Just for a second set of eyes on some bylaws before they hit town meeting floor, and there can be a group of people that have already reviewed it and given an opinion on what they are.
We used to have one years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
well,
it's
I
wise.
heard about
They
that.
did
And-
revisions. The last revision dealt with animal control.
No, my question is, because I also envision this group to periodically review the bylaws from time to time and make recommendations. Did they do that as well?
Karen, did we not reappoint the bylaw committee?
It hasn't been here
The
since
last
I've been
one,
here.
the last one was the revision. Well, I think the last one of the committee was the animal control bylaw, but not the most stringent one, because I think that one came by petition. The final thing that said you can't let your dog run loose. I think the committee said, under your control,
Yeah.
and that didn't work out. And then I think we had a petition that said, you can't let the animals run loose, and that was what got passed. So we may not have reappointed for several years, but we did have one, but that was the function, yes, review and update.
Resurrected, yeah.
Yeah, so instead of establish, maybe revamp or whatever,
Revamp,
you know,
just
whatever word.
revitalize, because
Okay.
there were a handful of articles that came before the town meetings this year,
Mm-hmm.
and I just kept thinking that I think we should have had another body, you know,
Mm-hmm.
outside of who was presenting it, take a look at it, and make their recommendation.
Well, I also think that instead of just having it be for things going forward, maybe look at stuff that was passed like in the 60s or the 50s and just
There was
see.
some really
Review,
old,
and
old
that's-
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what, and
Right,
just
and
see like,
review and-
is that even
right.
current? Like, you know. So I support this and I'm ready to vote on it.
Okay, I make a motion that we establish a bylaw review committee.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Do we need to delineate how many people we want? on
Look and
this?
see
I'm
what we had
partial to
before.
5. I like the number
Yeah, 5 is
5
usually
because it's not too little that people can't get the work done. It's not too much that people, I know.
We have
Oh,
4 in
We
the
have 'em.
audience. We have 4 in
Here
the
they
audience.
are.
I like the number,
We're
maybe
one
4.
short.
No, I like the number 5. It's easy to get a quorum, easy.
Okay.
I just like 5.
I remember that Kevin Perry was on it. Kevin Perry on the finance committee.
We'll ask him if he wants to be on the
He
revitalized.
was on that way back when.
So
He's the
just,
5th member.
just for clarification, this is town bylaws, not zoning bylaws?
I think zoning as well.
All bylaws, then.
All bylaws, but zoning bylaws have this provision where they have to have a public hearing
Mm-hmm.
before the planning board regardless, so that would be double duty, but still, why not?
And again,
They
they're
could
just
be
making
useful.
recommendations.
Right, exactly.
So, I'm
So
okay with
this,
that.
I'm not sure if I second it yet, but this has been amended to 5, to have 5 members.
Okay.
I just threw that
It
out
ha-
there.
it
Yep,
is
no,
just-
I'm fine with that.
If
Yeah,
you'd
that's,
like.
that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll accept that amendment.
Yeah, so
All
I
right.
second that, yep.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? One last question. I know, I feel like you're going to get mad.
I'm not
would-
mad.
Would it be this board who does that not presentation, answers questions the week before town meeting or however long before town meeting on certain warrant articles, or would it be the
Oh, no,
bylaw
that's still-
review committee?
No, the bylaw review committee would only be doing their due diligence, if you
Behind
want
the
to call it that,
scenes,
behind the
making
season,
okay.
scenes,
Yep.
behind the seasons, behind the scenes, making their recommendation, and they can make it on town meeting floor, or issue something before. But yeah, they wouldn't have any, if we had a spending article to, you know, purchase a car, they wouldn't be reviewing
Okay.
that.
Yeah, that would be
Selectman
FinCom. When we had that bylaw about animal control, but not the final one that said you gotta keep the animal tied up, whatever, they did get up at town meeting and explain what they had done and why they were recommending it.
I like that.
It did pass, but the situation just, there wasn't enough control, so then petition came,
Okay,
and that settled it.
all right. We didn't
You just
vote.
need to call for
No,
the
we
vote.
Okay.
Yep.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes.
I'm going to skip down to E, update on Council Oakland. So here's where we're at with this. Myself, Tom Ferry, and the Conservation Commission have been working together. I've drafted an RFP, which is a request for proposals. What we're waiting on is a survey because we believe that it's important to firmly delineate the lines and the areas of what would be operated by our tenant farmer and not available for public use. I know that land does have some people on it. I just want to make that clear. That's not going to last because we're going to be leasing this and they will have exclusive rights to it under their lease. We have to advertise for this under Chapter 30B, Section 16, which is the real property procurement law. It'll be kind of governed by the Conservation Commission. They did insist on a 5-year lease, so this means we have to go to town meeting. I just want to let everybody know, we have to call another one, but the residents will have to vote on the town entering into a contract longer than 3 years. And this will be a 5-year lease with an option to renew for an additional 5 years.
You said
That's how
you
it's-
have to call a town meeting. Why couldn't we just have this as part of a town meeting that we were already having?
Well, we could, but if we were gonna have one in the summer, you would lose your opportunity to plant your crop.
It's got to be done before the annual because they're going to be working on the land to
Okay.
Either
prepare
to
it.
get
Okay, I
So
understand.
it looks like a late winter, early spring.
March,
town
February,
meeting.
looking at
March.
February, March,
Okay.
sorry, but we'll see you then. So that's my update there. I wanted to let you know that.
Well, we're a right to farm town,
We
so I feel
are,
like people
yeah.
understand, they're gonna be.
And this
they're
is
gonna
a
be just
unique
okay.
situation.
Exactly. And everybody I spoke to wanted this land
To
preserved,
happen,
so I
right.
think we're not
Right.
gonna have too many.
And the only thing we're waiting on before we advertise is a survey,
Yep.
because I'm very insistent that I want everyone to be clear what the land is.
Of
So
course.
that's up.
And I
Okay.
appreciate you,
Surveyed and permanent markers.
Right.
put in.
Right.
and thank you for your due diligence and always kind of thinking about potential issues.
How it goes wrong?
Yeah.
That's my job. Okay, so let's go back to approval of job descriptions for various positions. As you know, we have developed this evaluation process, and I can't evaluate.
Bigger than the
I
policy
know, I
manual.
know. We can't evaluate somebody if we don't know what they do, and when looking at
Thank
job
you.
descriptions
Thank you, public.
that have been being worked off of, they're quite frankly inadequate and not reflective of what's currently going on. So, we rewrote them. This is very
Before we
important.
get into this, colleagues, it is getting late. I assume everybody, like me, has gone through these job descriptions.
Nope.
Okay.
I'm not actually requesting you to adopt them tonight.
Okay.
I just want to give you some updates on
I'm-
them.
okay,
They
I
say
misunderstood.
December.
I need time for review.
Right, well, they say, other than one, they say December, because I anticipated you adopting these on the 12th.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna go down this list.
Sure.
This is kind of your guide. I do have some updates. So the police chief, I combined the contract and his job description and updated it all to the same form. He's okay with it. So that's an update. The fire chief was updated recently under March 2018. You can see that it is the form, but I know that you did recently hire him last year, so you've looked at it. So I didn't feel any changes necessary there. The town accountant, I did not update this for form. I do have some, you have my notes there of what I think we should change. Council on Aging, I did not update this to form, and actually I don't feel that it actually reflects what she's doing. I think she's doing more. So I would like to look at some other ones and then work with Alice to change it if necessary. Veterans agent, the only thing I would say is we should reorganize it and update it to form just for consistency's sake. I don't even know if any change is warranted there. I think it's pretty reflective. Administrative assistant, Ms. Brady, the one that she's operating off of now is probably what she does in 1 hour's time. So
Literally.
we updated that considerably to better reflect the kind of work that she's
Her
doing in this
actual
town.
role.
Her actual role.
Which is invaluable for
Right.
anybody who doesn't know.
Karen is an essential employee.
Absolutely.
Building commissioner, this is a big one. We updated this and included facilities management. I know I've spoken, very briefly about this to you. It includes facilities management duties. That is a change in his current role. He's sort of doing that unofficially, but that will come with a change of cost, and I just wanted to have this discussion and potentially talk about budgetary impacts coming down the line. So I want to let you know about that. Highway superintendent. You do have the updated one. I updated it this afternoon. Tom did sign off. He's okay on that. He did make mention that the tree warden and tree management should be addressed at some point.
But I don't think
He
that
said-
needs
That's
to
a
be,
separate-
They're
yeah, I was
separate.
just gonna
Exactly.
say.
So
It
he-
may not be the highway superintendent next time, who knows, but,
And that's what he said, that the tree warden and that position are they work hand in hand.
Yep.
And that he basically just talked about the idea of maybe bringing it to the ballot to not make it an elected position.
okay.
This is just all
But-
food for thought.
But I think that for tree warden and tree management, maybe we could do a separate description. Is
No,
everyone-
you don't even need to, it's elected. This is just something to consider, that's all it is. Animal control officer, we updated it with a draft. You have that before you.
Okay.
The Board of Health is going to be voting on that on December 12th. Unfortunately, it's our meeting as well, but
Theirs
they'll
is
let
an
us
hour
know.
before
They're
ours.
early. They'll let us know, and
All right.
animal control officer and the health agent, I did not, this is so bizarre, I had a paperclip up my sleeve.
You've got cards, paper clips.
So weird. The health agent, they did submit it, so that's an inaccurate
Okay.
note there, but I got it today, and I didn't review it yet, so I don't have any notes
That's
there,
fine.
but you can review it, and I can review it at the same time. That's
So
where I'm at with those.
since we have not, just by virtue of how how information gets to us before the meeting, I don't think there's a point in really getting into this evening. I think we can just wait and do them together at our December 12th meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah, the only thing I would mention is, the only position I think that this would fall under is Council on Aging. It's got to go before that board, before it comes
Right.
to us.
Similar to what's going on with the health agent, right.
It goes to the Board of Health and
Right.
the animal control,
Right.
all that. Okay.
Exactly.
Like the library, I assume when we do the director, it'll go before the
But
trustees.
we're not gonna do the director, because she
She
is
follows
followed under
the
the,
CBA.
and they're an no. She's appointed
She's
by
under
the
Board of-
trustees.
No, we make the appointment, they make the recommendation.
That is right.
Oh, well, I have her job description, I just thought she was
Okay.
being nice. Sorry, Jocelyn.
They would have to okay her job description.
Correct.
But the only
my
person
God, I'm
who can
sorry.
appoint is the fire chief. And
The only
even when
person
he
what?
appoints, but he says to us, I'm recommending for appointment, and we just kind of ratify his appointments.
Yeah.
He's the only one that can directly appoint.
I remember we always have to choose our language
Yes.
very
I was
carefully.
thinking the fire chief stuff here also, didn't we get that from Chief Nord? Didn't he write a job description? Remember way back when he gave
He
us
did,
a
and
lot of stuff?
I thought that was included in what's here.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
You have
So that's already been
Kind
like
of looked familiar.
melded, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so we will
So-
continue the job,
And everybody got who was okay and who we haven't sat down together yet.
Yep.
Okay, so the ones that we have in our town accountant, council on aging, veterans agent, but I'm not changing any of those. I didn't rewrite any of those. Okay. Thank you, sorry.
no, it's okay.
Use of Old Town Hall meeting space. We have our Old Town Hall meeting room, which looks gorgeous and is ready for use. And so as the calls come in, we are looking for some guidance on how you want to do this. Do you want to charge a fee? So Jim and I discussed this a little bit, how we see it. We feel that anybody who's town affiliated in the sense of like the library wouldn't pay a fee.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Any outside function, probably not a nonprofit, probably somebody who's like, use it,
Phenomenal,
like maybe
yeah.
if you want to use it for a baby shower or something, would pay the fee, whatever it costs to clean up the building.
Of course.
And that's their fee to use it. So we're still vetting that out, but we're looking for some feedback from you.
Well, what I would prefer would be some sort of a I don't want to use the word policy, I feel like we've talked so much about that tonight, but some sort of written thing that we can then discuss.
So that is,
It's hard when it's just,
all right.
there's no actual
So
language to discuss.
I will do that one for the next meeting, and
Okay.
it will be inclusive.
I think we should have a fee, but we should also have a deposit. The fee is, it goes to the town for the use of the building. The deposit would be, part of the requirement is if you're going to use the facility, you must clean it up. That event I went to at the church hall back in October, when it ended, the people immediately got out brooms and brushes and cleaned up everything, took the trash out. We would have a list of things, like remove the trash from the whatever. And if there's no damage, they get their deposit back. But
And
I think that
if there is
if it's-
damage or they don't clean up, the town,
keeps the deposit.
okay.
But I think the fee should be
I'm okay
separate.
with
I think a
discussing
use
that.
fee,
Mhm.
which the town would keep. But the deposit would be, this is what you must do, clean, take the trash out, whatever. And if they do all that, there's no damage, you get your deposit back.
So that's having the person who uses it clean the,
Yes. And the incentive is, you're gonna get your deposit back if you follow, this is exactly what we want you to do. Make sure there's nothing on the floors, like spills or trash or anything. Another thing is, all waste must be bagged and removed from the site. Take it with you.
yeah.
Don't allow them to have trash accumulate.
I'm sensing,
So what do you consider the fee then? Is that going to be,
We'd have to determine if.
no, is that? like a
Income to the
profit for-
town,
Income to the town?
yeah. Because these are non-town entities, outside, private, not nonprofits, not whatever.
I believe Mr. Aguirre was going to get a estimate as to how much it would
How much
cost
the
to
cost
clean.
was, right,
And that would, we
Yep.
could determine, based on that, what our fee might be.
exactly. And I believe we're still waiting on it. My only problem with the deposit is that now an employee has to hold on to that money, and our auditors would say that's a potential use for fraud. No, I'm not accusing anybody, but that's like a opportunity for fraud if we're holding money. So that would have to be fleshed out. I understand what you're saying, it makes sense,
If the deposit were paid
but,
up front, and after the event is over, and somebody looks at the hall and says, hey, it's in great shape, you just process the refund back to them.
yeah.
so I think that since we don't have language, I think we should get draft language and then hash it out then.
I'm gonna
Like,
put
it's
it
hard
together
for
with
me
this.
to discuss something that is like
Still
not, yeah, well, yeah, it's just, there's nothing. There, we don't have anything. We're just having an open discussion, so we're just gonna go around in circles.
Jim popped in the office tonight before the meeting also. He would like a calendar established for use of that meeting hall because, for example, he said tonight, there were several boards meeting in this building, and there's a question of number of people present in a certain meeting area, and everybody wants to meet on their own turf, in their own spot, but what he said was, they can meet over there anytime, but there's gotta be a calendar to schedule it, especially
We
when.
have that now.
For
It's
other
outside the
spaces,
town
yeah.
clerk's office.
Yep.
And if you're a board of commission, when you post your agenda, you write where you're meeting. And it's supposed to be, because there was a night, one time, that there were 3 boards meeting, and nobody knew which room they were supposed to go to, because it was all moved around, nobody specified their room, and the things were taken and they didn't know. So we put in this calendar, you're supposed to check if your room's available, you write it down on the calendar so nobody else can take it, and then the town clerk processes your agenda and all of that. He mentioned a calendar to me, what I thought he meant was reserving the room. So
That-
usually if people wanna meet here, they check with like Karen, hey, is anybody using this space? So he needs somebody, we need somebody who's gonna be like the keeper of that calendar. But that would be, to your point,
Correct.
we're gonna flesh that out.
But I do want to pivot off this before we move on, because it's already 9 o'clock. We haven't even got to old business, so we need to get moving, and I'm going to start limiting the discussion. Do we want to have the next Board of Selectmen meeting at Old Town Hall?
We just need to make sure cable is.
Cable.
Of
I was gonna ask
course,
that.
provided that they're able to film it. We would not have a meeting that would not be able to be broadcast.
Cable, tonight, can you come up here and let us know if you can?
Yeah,
do
can
that?
you send us a signal right now
Flare
through the
gun.
floor, if it's okay?
Oh, I thought,
That was the signal.
What we said to Jim was, just like if you want to use the field, there's so many organizations, people using the field for all sorts of events, but They go to Parks and Rec, find out if it's available, so we'll just have that kind of a control for the old
And I
town
agree
hall.
with that.
Exactly.
I agree with
I
that.
agree.
Pavilion, everything is scheduled by,
Exactly.
you know.
Exactly. We don't
And
want
I
any.
actually, it's funny you brought up the pavilion, and I'm sorry, because I know you want to rush this along, but I thought if somebody had a small enough ceremony or reception, you could get married at Old Town Hall and have your pavilion, have your reception at the pavilion, right there.
Is that not the case?
We've actually had weddings in the gazebo.
I know, I love that. But now there's, like, if it's inclement weather, or like, that could be something. I mean, the space is gorgeous. I can't wait for the town to see it. Well done.
That's why I would like to have them, if it's possible, if we can, if
Sure.
they have all the equipment set up. I know
Yeah.
this isn't something that happens overnight, obviously.
So
We
present,
can't go live, I'm sorry. We can't go live from over there, but if that's
oh,
okay.
can't go live?
They don't have that thing put in yet. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have to have a certain piece of equipment in place. Like, we can go live here because we have it here.
Yeah.
We would have to have it at the location. So that's the
Well,
question.
we could always get the little tripod from
Yeah.
the Dayton Public Library and then have someone live stream it. That's not a problem. Okay, do we have any other comments around, on the use of Old Town Hall? I think we're all in agreement that there should be some orderly sign up.
Yep.
So we just need some
Yeah,
language
we
on
need to
that.
establish fees and procedures.
Yep, and maybe the deposit issue as well.
and people can start reserving it now, not the public, but any town entity or nonprofit can start the process. And they, right now,
We have it at Karen right now, yeah.
so you're keeping track of that right now? Yep,
Sorry,
thank you.
Karen. Did you put that in your job description?
We'll get that figured out for next meeting.
Well, it's on there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
All right. Next on our agenda this evening, bear with me just a moment. I see what's on the agenda, but we have Mr. Rhines here, so I'm just looking at, I will accept a motion to move to item 8H. You want to have dinner tonight, right?
So moved.
You want to be home at a reasonable hour? Okay, we have a motion
I'll second that motion.
and a second to move to item 8H on the agenda this evening. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Mr. Rhines, first, before you begin, I want to thank you and the Parks and Recreation Commission for your service. You are a very amazing volunteer for the town, and we're lucky to have you. And I did review the document that you prepared for us, and I thank you for your due diligence. And with that, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Madam Administrator and Board of Selectmen. On behalf of the Parks and Recreation Commission, I'm here representing the board. And this evening, before you're going to see a diagram. Before I get to the diagram, I was approached by Mr. Kevin Braga, who is the Assistant Superintendent at the Bristol County Agricultural High School, in regards to some proposed field improvements to the Carl K. Spratt Memorial Field behind us. What they would like to do is to place sod on the field, so it would put them in the dimensions required under the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association rules for use of a girls softball field. So that's why I'm here this evening. The school has provided the document, and you're going to see the dimensions. I just want you to picture this in your mind. Everyone knows the field behind you as it sits. The beginning of the outfield grass, that area has to be moved in approximately anywhere between 5 to 7 feet. So it's closer to second base, so the distance is not that far away from the beginning of the outfield grass. But there may be a problem. So we need to go back and look at the dimensions, because we also have men's softball that play. The dimensions are a little different. We also have boys baseball that plays there. And boys baseball, I'll just go through the dimensions very quickly. Girls softball, dimensions for base paths from home plate to first base are 60 feet. The distance for a fence would be 200 feet in a circumference around the field itself, but they are not proposing to do that. They don't want to encompass upon the track and people utilizing the track. Men's softball is, you would add 5 feet from home plate to first base would be 65 feet. Boys baseball from home plate to first base is 90 feet. So with the diagram you have in front of you, you see the diamond itself And that first circumference you see, half a circumference, that is the beginning of the outfield grass. The second line is the distance for a 200-foot fence. So what the school's proposing is they would like to move and put sod, place sod, to lessen the distance from the beginning of the outfield grass to behind second base. So they fit the rules under the MIAA, again, which is the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association. The school themselves said that they would take care of the purchase of the sod, the installation, they would do everything from top to bottom. The only thing that we would have to do is we'd have to have the highway department come back out and locate a pipe that runs under the field itself to one of the light poles that's out there. And that would be very easily done by having Dig Safe come out to locate the pipe. They would be able to mark it. And Tom already knows.
Who?
Dig Safe.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought you said Dick Schaefer.
No.
I'm like, Taunton.
I'm sorry, Dig Safe. I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself.
No, it's okay.
And they would come out and locate that conduit for the electrical that's provided for the track itself. So again, the school would purchase the sod, they would do all the installation, and I would think right now they would probably come in as soon as the weather breaks in the spring in order to do this, because girls softball usually starts, or baseball starts, after, I believe it's 20 days after the last boys' basketball game is played. I may be wrong in those time frames, but it's pretty close. And I had a discussion with the town administrator, and right now, this would not interfere at all with any of the other activities that are being done at the field, because we have a booking schedule. People notify the Parks and Recreation departments. We book individuals. They must show a liability insurance certificate and do all the sign-offs that we require in order for them to use the field. There is no cost for anyone to use any of our fields in town. We do not plan on charging the agricultural school. They are going to do all the improvements themselves.
Okay.
So I will entertain any questions that the board or Madam Administrator has at this time.
So I'm gonna limit this to 9:25, so we have 5 minutes. I guess my question is, I just want to reiterate, so maybe it's a timing issue, I'm not understanding. The placement of the sod, this is for whoever is going to answer. I don't care who does, I'm confused. The placement of the sod is not going to affect another baseball or softball team's ability to use the field, or will the sod be removed before the other
sod
teams
is going to be
play?
there on a continual basis. It'll be there. Once it's installed, it'll never be removed. It'll be there for
They're basically
infinity.
building the field. They're redoing the field so that they can do this.
And that's not going to affect, obviously, the track or anything like that?
No, it will not. No, it will not.
On kids' soccer?
I do see soccer in there.
Their soccer runs in the fall. They don't have
I see
a,
little kids sometimes. I don't know who they are, or
It didn't.
they were on the outward, that they
Yeah,
had
that
the
just
school had
looks
the net
like
set up, and
bored kids.
there is enough room on the field itself that, because we've had, back in the time when I played Babe Ruth baseball, we would have 2 teams practicing on the field at one time.
Okay.
One in one direction, one in the other direction. So
And
there was
you could
always plenty of
do
distance.
one at the back and then one
And one
at the front, and they probably would do, especially if they're little kids, they're not gonna do that whole long distance. They would probably do the side to side. So I have no,
what's
I
on the
have no
field
issue.
right now where the sod's gonna go?
Stone dust. So what they would have to do is they have to remove the stone dust at a depth so it'd be even with the grass that's there already.
Okay,
So,
all right,
which would probably, I would just guesstimate 3.5 to 4 inches.
okay.
They were hoping to attempt this fall because, of course, grass grows well in September, October. But due to the time frames and getting everything coordinated, we just couldn't do it. And spring, of course, is another great time to grow grass, so the sod would be able to grow at that time. so.
Okay. Selectman Pacheco, do you have any questions?
I'll just make it won't impact the Couch Festival, I assume?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No,
No,
no. It should not affect any events.
Make it more fun. Oh, you're gonna be judging this year, aren't you?
Am I?
Yeah, I already told Ed only.
You were
I already
just
asked him.
nominated.
Oh, so you're the recipient of the sweatshirt?
My only request is that you let me know or one of us know so we can update the public just so that they're aware that they might not be able to come here and just,
So the main reason why we came to the Board of Selectmen is because being town-owned land, we do not have the authority to make any, upgrades of that nature. So that's why we're coming to you as
Well, we
town-owned property.
appreciate
And what I'd also like to do is that I'd like to bring in the vice principal of the school and have another meeting at another appropriate time where we can get all the parties involved and get them here and be able to just hash this out completely. So this is just a preliminary.
And would it
right
be
now,
okay
so.
that our town administrator is just in?
Oh, absolutely,
To be able
yes.
to report back,
Oh,
if anything.
certainly. I've had communications back and forth with the town administrator. I had approached her first in regards to this matter, and next time we use the proper chain of command, I'll ask the secretary first, and then she can contact the town administrator, and then we'll go from there, but,
It's getting complicated.
well, there is a new job description, so I just don't want to make sure that.
So we don't have to take any action on this then?
no, you
wanna-
do. You
We
do
have
need
to
to
approve
vote
it.
to approve their
The
doing
placement
this.
of
The
the
request.
sod.
So why are they coming in later then?
Just to
Hash out particulars.
just to hash out the particulars
Specifics.
of,
Schedule.
Logistics.
exactly.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the request of Parks and Recreation Department regarding the sodding of the baseball field for use by Yankee School.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'd like to make a public service announcement before I do leave. I know it's probably under the announcements. There's been a little bit of confusion. The Dayton Rehoboth boys football team is playing Friday, November 30th at 5 p.m. at Gillette Stadium. Please, if you can go, tickets are $17 for adults, $12 for children. I believe there's $12 for seniors. These young men and young ladies that also cheerlead, this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Please support our community if you have the opportunity to.
What was the date and time again?
November 30th, which is Friday evening.
Oh, 2 days.
Friday evening
At
at
Gillette.
5 p.m. at Gillette Stadium.
Tickets at the gate?
Tickets are available at the gates. Parking, I don't know any of the particulars about that. I don't know if private lots, you may have to pay to park. I don't know if the stadium themselves has their own parking areas. I do not know.
I'll park on the upper side of Patriot Place.
Well, this
and
is
just walk
perfect
down.
because
No, just kidding.
I work right near Gillette and I get out at 5 p.m. I can
Perfect.
go in early and get out at
So
4:30.
I will leave you saying this: Go Falcons.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, I
Well, you're
appreciate,
green. Very good, festive.
you have done us all a public service, Mr. Rhines, because I was under the impression, and I just told you this
I know.
in the office. I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do on Saturday because I have the Steffa Cruiser event and we also have the Super Bowl. So I appreciate that. Now I can do both.
I will say this before I leave, that I've watched many of the games before. They have been broadcast on Comcast Sportsnet, and those are only the Saturday games. Since they're playing Friday night games, I don't know if Comcast is going to record those games and show those at a later date, or show those in the morning before the other start games or after, I don't know.
Or not at
So
all.
that may just be a question that residents may be able to just call Comcast Sports, or I'm sorry, excuse me, it's, yeah, Comcast, is it, I can't remember the name for the life of me. It's Channel 52, which has the Celtics games on, and I think it might be Comcast.
Contact your local cable sports provider.
One of the Boston stations, either 7 or 8, made reference to, we've got to cover those high school football games at Gillette this weekend. And so I don't know, but that's another thought, check channel 7 or 8, because they didn't say that, so.
I believe.
Or we could all just lay this to rest and we could all Google it. It'll be there.
There was a little blip that was on the news on Channel 10 that specifically had the players themselves on the field at Foxborough, and they have having breakfast at the Kraft family sponsors for all the teams that come in to play the Super Bowls. So the kids had a walkthrough with their coaches, of course. So just that experience itself, so I'm sure they...
Just one quick question for you on the Community Preservation Act. Has the deadline for applications closed?
I think it's been closed, hasn't it?
Yes.
For quite a while.
November?
November 30th. We were going to entertain a new application in regards to a parcel of land off of Rock Cove. We're in a catch-22 situation in regards to that, because it was nothing, it was voted on, but it was not put onto our lead packet of paperwork. So I'm going to ask the members that I believe that we can still continue to accept applications and go forward as such and be ready for town meeting. And if it's a town-owned building, and I'll just say this, I think I know what you're referring to, is that Parks and Recreation Department, in conjunction working with the town administrator, said that if you work from the combines list, which is the state bid list, that you don't have to go out and get 3 bids for any project. Because they're already on the state bid list, they're signatory contractors,
Maybe, sometimes,
depending on...
depending on the rules of that particular
scope of
contract.
yes, the scope of the work. So, in regards to say against the schoolhouse, I don't know if they really get one contractor to do everything from soup to nuts. A to Z, so I don't know. That would be a question that they have to work in conjunction with the building commissioner.
Great.
So that's
Thank
what I
you.
recommend, so.
Okay.
And you have that list combined?
Combis? It's online.
It's online?
It's
It's
online.
not- so it's not-
online.
I'll talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you all. We're moving on to old business, the third reading and vote to adopt the Selectmen's Rules and Procedures Policy. And I don't think we need to discuss this. We've discussed it. So I will accept motions.
I'll make a motion that we approve and adopt the Selectmen Rules and Procedures Policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. It says approval date was 2019, so please, that needs to be changed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes.
New first page.
And next on the agenda this evening is the second reading of the tuition reimbursement policy.
So there's a couple of things on this. I took some of the comments and made some changes. So I want to show you under purpose and applicability, the second paragraph. I added the word benefited employees because this could have gotten a little bit awry if it was just employees. So we said benefited employees. I actually think that's a spelling error, but benefited employees. And then regarding Selectman Pacheco's discussion and ideas about what I call a clawback, I
A
reached out to some...
clawback.
Right, I call it a clawback of,
Alright.
if you are, in a recipient of town funds to go to school and you depart in a certain amount of time, you have to pay back what you receive from the town. So I have samples here for you to look at, Somerville, Northampton, and Conway. I like Northampton because it has this progressive scale depending on how long you've stayed. You do a certain amount of percentage payback based on it. So in the interest of time, if you'd like to review and give me your, and we can put this on for a third reading, or we can just do another draft next meeting.
I don't think we need to. I think we will come to that meeting. We will have reviewed the language, and we can either say before we vote whether we want that in the final
Sure.
policy or not.
Great.
Is everyone okay with that? With specifically this claw?
I call it a clawback.
Okay, I like that. I'm going with it. Specifically with the clawback language. I want to thank you for looking that up. When Selectman Pacheco had mentioned that at the time, I didn't know that that was actually something that happens, meaning there is language in the policy that allows the town to recoup its funds. So I
And the
appreciate
only
you
thing I'm
looking that
going
up.
to say, I am going to reach out to the policy review board and let them know that we're potentially making these changes.
Actually, before we do that, make your life easier. Just talking about this clawback language, and not even the specifics of it, just the idea of having that language in the policy in its final version, is that something we want?
My concern is, one of the contracts has language about the tuition, doesn't it? Or it's in their budget?
3 of them
Is there gonna
have,
be a contract? 'Cause
so
I assume this is gonna be all employees.
it is all employees, and there's a line here that says, when questions arise as a result of, any collective bargaining agreements that provide tuition reimbursement as part of the conditions of said agreement shall prevail. When questions arise as a result of that language, or when contracts are silent on a specific issue, which all of them are silent on a clawback, the town shall use this policy to determine a course of action. So it would fall to this policy to determine their clawback. And if we put a clawback stuff in there, if they had to repay us. One of them has something similar, but it's about police academy.
Can I ask you a
You don't.
question
So
about the
does this have to
clawback?
go to the policy review board?
I'm going to email them.
Clawback language.
They said they were okay with this.
Okay.
We're potentially making the clawback change, and that's a substantial change, so I'm going to send that
Okay,
over to
all
them.
right.
So I have a question about the clawback language. I might be misinterpreting this. If we did have this, let's just say this was the exact language and it's in the final policy, is the town obligated to try to get the money back, or can the board still decide not to pursue it if it's like $50?
Well, you can put a line in there that says, you'll put in language and parameters as to what constitutes you going after, because at some point, it's not gonna be worth it.
Yeah, that's my
but-
concern.
There are other ones that they sign an agreement, and that's their agreement, but you're right, are you gonna go to court over $50?
No, 'cause we're
Probably
gonna
not.
Or a grievance.
Yeah.
Exactly, so probably not. So it's something, food for thought.
So I just want to be fair. I'll start over here because I already called on you. Do you want this, do you want to see some form of this language in the
Yes,
final policy?
and I've reviewed them. I know we're not going to vote on which one, but I'm also in support of Northampton.
You like
I
Northampton?
like Northampton.
Selectman Goulart?
I really don't see the need to do it. None of our state institutions do this. I mean, they're talking a lot of money. And my concern is how you do this equitably, because some people would be covered under union contracts, and I don't want to say to an employee, well, you're not actually covered under that, so you know what? You're going to pay yours back, but somebody else doesn't. But across academia, I don't know anybody's, including our own school departments, that's my only concern.
To be honest, I really don't have strong feelings either way. What I will say is, if this language is going to be included, I also agree that it should be Northampton's. I just think that this last page is way too detailed.
I gave you
Yeah.
a set of 3 that would show kind of the different tiers of this. It was about 50-50, the towns that provided tuition reimbursement that had a clawback and those that didn't.
Okay, so since one says they want it, one says it's not necessary, I am going to go the way of Switzerland, and I'm going to allow you to do it however you want.
Well, thanks.
No, I literally mean that. I'm not punting. I
Okay, so it's
literally.
gonna come back to us for another.
Yeah, you're gonna get this
Yeah,
next
the
week,
third-
or next meeting,
The
but
12th of December.
what I'm going to do is talk to the policy review. board.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to know really
Yep.
what they say.
I will say I am inclined, I'm leaning towards, I don't think it's necessary, because I don't see anyone, taking a bunch of courses and then leaving within,
It's technically
shortly
a
after.
$3,000 cap on what you would, so would you go back after $3,000 is the question, and would you go back?
I mean, I
after
would ask for the
$1,000?
money,
Yeah.
but I
Like,
just.
how far are you gonna
Like,
take
I
it
feel
to
like
get it? That's the
we
question.
will always retain the right to ask for the money back, but I just don't think that we need to be pursuing people.
Well, we're trying to
I don't know.
encourage people to go to school.
Agreed.
So to put this on it, it's but if you can go and we're gonna help you, but if you don't,
But if a better opportunity comes along, then
And you decide
the
to take
town,
it.
I just don't feel.
I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to change my opinion. I said this last time, and I'm going to hold true to it to put this to bed. I hope this does not happen. I hope someone doesn't take a bunch of courses and then get another job and they leave a week later, okay? But I do see the importance in education just in general, and I'm okay with somebody getting assistance from the town as an employee to get tuition credits and get some fees waived or whatever they're going to use the money for. school. I just don't, I'm okay with them leaving and going on to better things, because as long as they have that education, no matter what they
To
do,
incentivize them to do it.
that,
We're finally making progress.
that, and I just feel like if they're educated, they're gonna be more likely to make a positive impact in the world, regardless of where they end up going. So I'm okay with it without it.
My only concern is that the taxpayers are paying this money. And that nobody's preventing anybody from taking whatever courses they want. We have a policy, we have an agreement that we're going to pay some of the fees and tuition up to $1,000, $3,000 in a year. I just think that if they leave within a certain amount of time, that the town ought to be reimbursed. Nobody's saying that education is not good. When I worked for the state, I paid for my own education. I could have went to a state school and had the state pay for it. I went to a private school.
I did
So,
both.
I didn't get reimbursed or anything like that. So I'm not saying that we discourage people from getting education. I'm just saying if the taxpayers are going to pay it, they ought to have some form of getting reimbursed if they leave after a certain amount of time. But
I think if it
I
becomes
respect
a problem,
your opinions.
I think if it becomes a problem and we see a trend, then we implement this.
And
But right now, we're pushing people to get the education, do it. But if we see, as I say.
But then it's too late, I mean, as far as those people go, so.
But I just
can see a
think-
trend, but.
I just don't want someone to take these courses. Again, this hasn't happened, so I don't want someone to take these courses and then get a job opportunity and then think, oh, I have to turn this down because I got this tuition money from the town of Dayton and I have to stay for X amount of time. I wouldn't begrudge anybody from chasing their dreams. So I get, yes, I agree. The town should try to get its money
But the
back.
taxpayers are paying for their dream, so that would be my concern.
Could I just add something to this conversation? Years ago, it happened to Mrs. Gould, I can probably attest to this. We had a lot of officers, police officers, who came to this town, went to the academy, okay, and decided to leave. After completing the academy within 6 months.
But that's
That
different.
provision's in the contract.
Yeah.
That's changed now because of that happened. in the
Right,
past.
well, I'm assuming it's because of what you're talking about. That's there. So the police academy, this is outside the police academy.
But that-
I think he's
that's
using it as an
still goes back to the
example.
point of what
Okay,
Mr. Machino
I know it. Sometimes things get misconstrued, so I just wanted
I know.
to, yeah. No, I know. It's just I want to be clear that there is a provision for that.
But that's happened in the past.
But I will also say the reverse of that is true, because if we have applicants who have completed the police academy at the expense of somebody else, they move up on the list as far as that's more points towards an appointment.
We have
So,
those, actually. We have a few of those.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
So I'm not going forward with the clawback, or I
Oh,
am?
putting me on the spot. I want to hear, before I answer you.
No, I just want to say, let's
Selectman
move on. We
Pacheco.
get a lot of stuff on the agenda.
Okay.
It seems like it's not going to go forward, so if that's.
I think it's worth asking the policy committee anyhow,
Okay.
just to say, the board discussed it, and this was the feeling, but what's your thoughts?
Okay.
Just so we know.
Sure.
Thank you. I
Thank
agree.
you. Good news, we're at the tuition reimbursement. No, that's it.
No, we did that.
Request of, I need a coffee. The Council on Aging, at the request of Tom Ferry, we need to table this. He's just looking at some more information. And
I will accept a motion to table item 7C.
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion is tabled. That motion passes to table 7C. Next on the agenda is the vacation request form. I did ask this to be placed back on the agenda. Madam Administrator, did you change anything on this?
I didn't make any changes. I just want to be clear. This form is purely administrative to provide all of us the information of when an employee is going on, a department head really, is going on vacation. We know who is going to be in charge, and how long they're going to be out, and when to go. We have a great group of department heads that actually do a great job of letting
They
us
do.
know, and unfortunately, that's not always going to be the case. So I think we should do this and implement this. This is how, we know who's going to be out.
Thank you, Mr.
how-
Rhines.
And who's going to be out, who's not going to be available at a certain time, and we can maybe make arrangements before they leave or after and plan ahead. So this in no way limits the amount of vacation somebody can take. I know that had been a concern last time we talked about it. That's not what this is. This is just for someone to
notify. This is
notify.
notification and ensuring, and this is important for the town. Our department heads do a great job of ensuring that the departments are covered. But again, we don't
always
these
have
people
that.
aren't going to be here forever. And I just feel like, we need to have something on the books for boards or future employees who may not even be here right now. And I support this. I think it's great.
My only question is that, I see that you would approve the vacation request, which I'm in total agreement with. Do we get notified? Does the board get notified when,
I would let you know.
Yeah.
Of course.
let us know when someone's off for 2 weeks or whatever, so
And
I also agree,
Yeah.
I support this 100%.
And it makes sense, and I'm okay with, I get why you asked that. I'm okay with it first going to the town administrator because the town administrator is really on the front line of personnel management per the bylaw. And I think it should come to her. Again, information flowing through you to us. And you let us know that, town assessor is going to be out from blah, blah, don't worry. Mrs. Tetro or Mrs. Wilson has it. I'm okay with that. And I think your point really persuaded me the last time we discussed this about we're not limiting anyone's vacation, but nobody is entitled to take all their vacation consecutively. This is the same for me in like if I can't have someone cover my clients while I'm out, I can't take that 3 weeks. I can only take 1 or 2, and that is the way it is, so.
Okay, but we got sickness here, and there's no way you can deny sick leave.
So that's if you want to take that away, like, fine, but if you have a surgery coming up and maybe you're using sick time,
Correct.
something like that. Like, I'm not saying I need to know 2 weeks in advance when your sick day is. I mean, that's,
Are you going to have the flu 3 weeks from now?
and if they know that, there's a problem. But if they are going to use that, but if you want to take that out,
No,
that doesn't
I
bother
think
me.
that,
And like maybe, I know a lot of our people go out for school. Usually it's not a very lengthy period of time, it's like 3 days, but that's what town business is there for, just to let people know if they're out for an
I mean,
extended
I
period of
agree,
time.
the word
3 days
sickness is a little,
Well, my
it's
other thought
weird,
is,
but
if this
maybe
is-
medical or something, a different word. but-
If this is a courtesy notification, then I think it should be any employee of the town of Dayton, not just under the Board of Selectmen, any employee of the town of Dayton. It's a courtesy notification that so-and-so is going to be away on vacation, or is going to we don't do this, convention or some such thing, that the Selectman's office be notified. That's all I'm saying. But
This is approval also, though, it's not just notification, it's
Well,
approval.
you can't, sickness, you can't do that.
No, I get the sickness part, medical might be a
I
better
know,
way.
medical might be a better word, but,
We can act on this knowing that it will be changed,
If-
that word.
If it's not a courtesy and it's the people under the Board of Selectmen, it's limited to like 4 people.
that's not, no.
Well,
It's the same people that we're evaluating. It's the same people we just did the job description for,
or we're going to.
or we're going to. Like, it's the same,
But some of those department heads, well, forget all the ones that are elected. So we have department heads that have written labor contracts that don't restrict vacation in them.
it's not restricting anything. It's just saying, and they already do this. Like, the police chief's gonna be out such and such
He
day,
sent
such and
us a
such day. He
letter.
lets us know.
Well, the
It's-
last discussion only was when we got to the point of beyond 2 weeks. That's what the problem was.
No,
But
it's also
that was a
coverage,
discussion
though.
that was going on kind of concurrently with what this form is actually saying. The only change I made to this was actually, I thought your amendment, Selectman Goulart, that says, as a department head or employee under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen, to make it clear that it was only to be people under the Board of Selectmen,
That
and
is
not
true.
elected
Right,
officials.
but now I'm saying if this is a courtesy thing, not a jurisdictional thing, then if it's a courtesy thing, every employee, whether they're contracted or elected or appointed, if they're an employee of the town of Dayton, eligible for paid leave, whatever it's gonna be, if they could just give you notice, except in an emergency, sick leave, people are gonna know, like, they gotta have surgery for something.
But this isn't courtesy.
It's
Right,
basically
it's-
management.
But
This
I
is
feel
to
like
it's
that's
streamline and organize
semantics.
it, that
Whether it's
people-
courtesy or whether it's,
The likelihood of me coming to you and telling you I've denied so-and-so vacation is so unlikely. I guarantee it won't happen unless there is an actual problem, like the, I don't know, the
Well, if
building
you-
commissioner wants to go on vacation for 4 months during the summer when it's prime building season.
Well,
He can't do that.
He doesn't have that kind of, no one
Right.
says that
But
accumulation.
he can't do that.
He doesn't have
because
that
he's-
accumulation.
Regardless of that, he can't do that because his function revolves around the building season, and that's in the summer. So that's like, you can't do that.
And this is
But-
also letting us know who's covering for that person when
Right.
they're out.
And that's
which
the
is very-
problem we actually ran into. That's why this came
That-
up,
that's-
because
and that's very
that was
important,
the
I
issue
think.
that we didn't have readily available. So, I mean, I don't have much more to say on this.
No, I'm okay with it as
We're
is.
going to take away the names of the people, because
Oh,
like
of
on the-
course.
like on the job descriptions, we're not talking about Tom Ferry's job, we're talking about the highway department
Correct.
superintendent.
Whoever
So
that may
always
be.
gotta because 10 years, 20 years down the road, it's going to be different people.
I'm
You
gonna
may
be
st-
here.
You may still
No.
be here, but
It's only
unfortunately
4
Nancy and I won't be
people.
here.
It's only 4 people.
That's okay.
Is it just 4 people?
Let's go down the
Police
hall.
chief, fire chief, town
Police chief,
accountant?
fire chief, myself. I mean, I would have to
Yeah.
submit
But
this,
the
the
police
town
chief
accountant.
is, they
Council
have a
on
separate
Aging.
labor contract, police and fire chiefs have a
It
separate.
doesn't say anything about their contracts say nothing about vacation notification. It's silent. It just says, this is how much you're afforded. This is how much you get. This is your benefited
It
time.
doesn't say anything about when you're taking it or if you're taking it consecutively.
No. Or
You're
who's
entitled
Don't you have
to
an
3
employee
weeks
policy
consecutive.
that says that? Should we
We
have?
did, and it was, actually, you have it. It's the 201-013 or something like that. I wrote it down. Yep, 201-013. In your previous review of this, when Selectman Taylor was on the board, you did vote to strike it because it's a little preposterous. It only deals with the clerical union. Well, you have multiple departments, and many of them are outside of the clerical union. So, we struck it because it didn't make any sense. But this is the same kind of thing, and it was talking about you need to provide notice at least such and such hours before, and I think 48 hours if you want to take a vacation day. This is just saying, I mean, maybe 2 weeks is, too long, too much of a notice, but if you know and you're planning an extended vacation, you know much
Oh,
more
I
than
don't think 2 weeks prior notice, I don't think that's a problem. I don't think that's a problem.
So in any case, it's not for, it would be, animal control officer. That's a big deal too. Animal control officer, if she takes, we don't have an assistant
I
right now.
know.
Who would be the person? We don't know. And people like dispatch
Well,
need
it
to know
just
that.
happened because 2 people jumped in and handled an animal control call because she was away. And the nature of the call was such that the health agent and the building commissioner immediately responded and cited violations.
So I'm glad they responded, but like, how do we know that dispatch would have been notified of that? You know what I mean? That's all this does.
I feel like
That's what this, we
this
are.
is
we
a
are. We're
one-page
beating a dead
form.
horse, yeah.
And either we are going to approve it this evening or we are not. So I am entertaining motions to either kill this form or approve
I don't
this
wanna
form
kill it.
as is.
I think notification is required. I'm just wondering, can a one or two sentence policy that the policy review board, employment policy review board can look at and just say, boom, 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 boom?
I wouldn't send this to them.
Because there's nothing to do with the union.
Right, and the
Okay.
union, if you're a union member, like if I
Okay.
work for Tom Ferry, I'm gonna tell
Correct.
Tom Ferry, and he's gonna tell me,
Mm-hmm.
Will you send it to the people that, on the list that you were just trying to think of, when I said how many people?
and they
Have they
can
reviewed
institute
it?
this in their,
Have
no,
they-
but everybody's had the time, I mean, this is the thing that I had said, this prompted me to say, I don't see why we have to continually run things by.
I agree. I
This-
agree.
This is very simple,
Because
this
you know
doesn't
what?
handicap anything.
It will become the inmates running the asylum. So that is the last thing that we're gonna say about this, and we're gonna vote or not vote, or we're gonna kill it, or we're gonna approve it right now.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the vacation time away request form that's before us with a change of changing sickness to medical and the date of November 28th, effective November 28th, 2018, or should we do it tomorrow's date, or
Well,
It's
your
okay.
vote, I like doing your vote, because you
November
can
28th,
reference.
2018?
I will step down and second that motion. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? The ayes have it. I don't know why I asked for abstentions. Everybody voted. The ayes have it. The motion passes.
I do have one question,
Sure.
though. Your vacation request, does that go to the gym? Okay. And you notify us when she's away?
I mean, I like to
Okay.
notify all of you, but yeah,
I mean, and
and
you're the
Karen.
clerk, so if I'm not here and it comes
Yeah.
up, you feel free.
Then I...
Deny it, exactly.
You must go.
All right. We also have, Cable, we're going to get you out of here soon. We have under new business, 8A, award the bid for exhaust fume removal system.
This came before the town at town meeting. The fire department received authorization of $40,000. You have before you a bid sheet. This is a quote process. We are actually recommending, rarely, to go with the higher bid because we believe it is a best value to the town. And I say that because the higher bid comes with a 5-year warranty on labor and parts. And they do preventative maintenance, annual maintenance, and their training was very well specified on their documents. The low bidder, just so everyone is aware, we did call. We did ask what the warranty information was. He said 1 year, and we asked about training, and he said training would be available. Both items were specified in our scope. Our scope says that we would award to the best value. So this is one of those cases where we find the best value to be, with this 5-year warranty, quite valuable. We're paying a little bit up front, but in the long run, I think we'll save, and it is under the original appropriation of $40,000.
What
So,
does payment bond mean?
A payment bond is required for any contract over $25,000 under this chapter.
Oh, okay.
And so we cannot get it ahead of time, it's once we contract with them. So when we put together the contract, they have to provide us the payment bond, 50%. If they mess up, we keep that. If not, it's returned.
Okay.
I just, for the public, because it is a little unusual to kind of favor the more expensive bid. The reason that you and our fearless fire chief support the slightly more expensive bid is because you're thinking if in 2 years, God forbid, something happens to the exhaust system and there needs to be some sort of maintenance, if we don't have the 5-year warranty, then we're now paying using some sort of taxpayer money, more taxpayer money to pay for those repairs, right?
Exactly.
So we would potentially be saving money, invisible money.
Invisible.
Okay.
I just think the 5-year warranty is worth the extra cost right now. It's almost like when you buy the car and you're like, do I want my 5-year warranty? Yes, you pay more to have that warranty, and it's a little bit of insurance. But with this comes, and we did provide you the bid document so you could see their language.
Yes.
It's preventative maintenance, it comes annually, and where it said labor and parts and labor, I thought was huge.
Well, labor is.
Right.
Can I ask you, if someone had to come in, we didn't have a warranty and repair the exhaust system,
What happens?
is that a person? What?
Maybe.
How are they
So
paid?
the way these systems work, they're usually authorized personnel that can put it in, and you have to find that person, then you have to schedule that person, then you have to shop around and make sure it's okay, because our policy is that if you're spending more than $5,000, you gotta tell us that you shopped around or why you couldn't. So that's all time. But where this is gonna be built in and all set. And the training, their part about training said on-site training by factory authorized personnel and a training video provided as a permanent training aid. So we have the flexibility that we could, if we had new firefighters come in, or we appointed some call firefighters to full-time status, we show them the video and they can be familiar with it and be trained in-house. We can do that too. So I find value in that as well.
So I really support spending more taxpayers' money.
I was like, oh, I gotta tell
normally-
Ken that we're.
That's why I think in the last 5 minutes I've heard this conversation, but I also agree with you. I've looked at their bid, I think they were very detailed,
Right.
it's what we want, and I'm in favor of the second big air cleaning specialist, and I'm
Is that a
prepared.
motion?
I'll make the motion that
Second.
we approve air cleaning specialist of New England at a bid of $29,103.
We
Second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? I actually have one, I almost feel bad asking this.
Don't.
So if 40,000 was raised and appropriated and we're spending about 11,000 less, is that money just going back into the general fund?
Potentially, it's in an
Eventually.
article right now. Yeah, it's in an article.
Can't spend it on anything
Of
else.
course. Okay.
Just sits there.
I was just,
Yeah, it sits there either until a revote at town meeting to reappropriate it somewhere, or it just returns to the general fund and the town account closes it out. Excuse me.
all right. Well, I want to thank you and our fire chief for really digging into this and, giving us the responsible recommendation. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. This motion passes. Next on the agenda this evening is to award the bid for highway roof repair. We all know why this is needed.
Right, it's definitely.
These are all over the place.
Is your recommendation, because I didn't see it
No,
here.
I don't have one. More due diligence is necessary. You see the bottom three. So we luckily got 5 bids, which is, for a nerd like me, that's exciting. That means there's high competitive, people want to do business here. The bottom 3 are all within $400 of each other. And the apparent low bidder, we're not familiar with, so we're just doing a little bit of background information on the lowest 3.
Okay.
And we'll have a report to you on December 12th. The building commissioner is doing that. And just so everyone is aware, these bids came in today. So this is fresh.
Oh,
This-
okay.
Mr.
These are fresh.
Chairman, I'll move that we table action on awarding the bid for the highway roof repair until the next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. As is customary, we always have our agenda item around this time where we need to formally vote to overspend the snow budget per the request of our highway superintendent, Mr. Tom.
So moved.
And it says the possibility of spending. Yes, I'll second that motion.
That is a good catch, yes. It is possible, public, that they may not overspend it. God
Only
willing,
happened once.
if the farmer's almanac is not
Only
correct and
once?
it's
It only
a
happened
mild
once
winter.
since I was on the finance committee, going back to 2003
That's
or
incredible.
something. Only once.
Well done. We
And
got a
The
great,
amount at that time was
Not even-
35,000. It's up to 50 now, but we
Not
were.
even during 2015, with that 8,
No, no,
9,
no, no.
10 feet of snow?
No, it's the opposite.
Oh, okay.
We never hit, we could spend up to, back in the day, we could spend up to 35, but we always voted to allow them to go over. Only once in all that time did we not hit
Oh, not
a 35. Yes.
that's what I'm saying, is like
It was a
amazing.
year of rain.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way we didn't
Oh, I
overspend in
see what you- yeah.
2015.
No, it's the opposite, just the
Right.
opposite.
And we got a great rate on
It was
snow.
in 78.
So-
No, of course. It was just a thought in my mother's brain. Okay, we have a motion and a second to overspend the snow budget. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Next on the agenda.
We have to table this. I had
Okay.
hoped that their legal side would have returned by now, but they have not, so we'll
Okay.
see you next month.
Motion to table to our next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Next on the agenda this evening under new business is to reaffirm the executive order for the Comcast phone system commingled account. And just so everybody is aware, this was to update and revamp the phone system townwide with Comcast. It was also necessary to schedule required phone installations for the new Dayton Police Station. They need phones. We did receive discounted pricing by coordinating all departments rather than operating separately. That makes sense because in a bigger pool, things are sometimes cheaper. I wanted to say before, and I'm going to throw it over to you, that there were several times in the last year, this is not anyone's fault, maybe Comcast, we can kick Comcast around, that folks were trying to call town hall and the phone systems were down. I think we will all agree on this dais.
Happens in my own
That
house.
can't happen. Well, it can happen at our house.
I only
We
got
turn
one-
the ringer down.
I only got one phone, and I got one line, and it happens at my house.
So to reiterate to the public, I mean, we cannot have the phones not working. We have people calling for important things. We have vendors calling. We need these phones to be working. We need everyone to be on the same system. That has happened. I supported it. We did not have a meeting at that time. So I'm asking my colleagues to support the executive
So
order.
what's the total amount you authorized, dollar-wise?
It's that $2,652.70. That's per month. I know that sounds high. Then there's these installation and activation fees. This is, sorry, all the way to the right, that's the column. These fees here are gonna be credited on future bills. They couldn't take them off for us for some internal whatever, but they can credit us, so our first 2 months are gonna be cheaper.
Okay.
This is an increase of, it is a substantial increase, but it's $7,200 over the year, for this fiscal year. That is substantial. It's worth it. As Selectman Zagraf has said, we've modernized our phone system with little things that will make a big difference for us. So right now, Karen, if she transfers a call to me, cannot see if I'm on the phone, and vice versa. If I transfer a call, I can only do it between here and Old Town Hall. I can't do it to primetime, police, fire, library, which is silly.
You might as well
There are
send a
lo-
carrier pigeon over there. Get your
Probably
message
the
sent.
biggest change that the residents will see is that there are local exchanges. No more dialing long distance to call one of our direct lines. We purposely didn't give those out because it's not a convenience to the public and they'd be paying extra. Our police department does get charged if they call a single line, so that will go away. But we have this capability for an app, so a lot of our inspectors are doing work out in the field, so they're using their own cell phones. This technology allows them to download an app. They can make a phone call or answer calls from their desk out in the field, and the number would be the town of Dayton number. I'm actually kind of sad Mr. Ryans wasn't here because he,
One town of Dayton number? 'Cause
no,
here's-
their town of Dayton number.
I want a Dayton resident to be able to contact the Board of Health directly without incurring a charge.
And that's what's going to happen.
Okay, so they would be calling a 669 number, not not getting the directory, getting Ms. Rosalind Grassi.
Once they had that
Answering
number.
the
And I
phone.
can't promise
Okay.
it's 669, but I can promise it's
Oh,
not going to be long
not-
distance.
Okay, it's gonna be local,
Right. Yes,
free.
we
Will the main
communicated
number
that.
still work?
What's
Of
that?
course.
The main number with options 1, 2, 3?
Yes, so what we're doing is pointing all of those numbers to the automated attendant who will first say, instead of just saying, it's Karen's lovely voice,
Right?
it says, welcome to Town Hall. Instead of saying, it says, go through the list, you have the opportunity to dial your party's extension at any time. You have the opportunity for a dial by name directory,
Oh,
which is
that-
huge.
okay.
That's a big improvement.
Then, we've asked for extensions to be organized by building, so like Town Hall will be 100, 101, 102, yada, yada. Old Town Hall, 200, 201, et cetera, and then by building, police, fire, library, same thing. But this app that I'm talking about allows somebody like Tom Ferry to no longer use his cell phone to reach out on business calls. And Tim Rhines actually expressed this to you about Parks and Rec having to be, communicating to vendors and using cell phones and personal numbers, and it wasn't working out. So he can actually be assigned a mailbox, not a phone number, but a mailbox, so somebody could call and leave a message for him, and he can conduct business through a town of Dayton phone. So there's a lot of
I have gotten that
benefits to this.
feedback so many times about the desire to call directly and leave a voicemail for that
Right,
particular
particular.
board without it coming to Karen and then
Yes.
Karen's having, it's just,
Right.
it's too much, it's just too much. And I think this is a big improvement.
It's a huge, and sorry, the biggest thing for me, we drop a lot of calls. You said that they just go out. We drop a lot of calls, and we found
I didn't
out
even
it's
know that.
because our phones are fueled by the internet. These will be the same thing, but we have one feed of internet. So when we're all on our computers and we're all on the phone, everybody's using the same internet, and it's not enough. So we would have had to increase. We actually lowered.
And they won't admit it.
We lowered our speed, so we saved there. And then it will be two different lines in. So the phones will have a static connection through internet, and it wouldn't be affected by what we're doing on our machines. So I know that it's expensive and an expense to the town, but it's completely worth it in my opinion.
I consider this to be an investment in the ability for residents to be able to get the answers they need without some rigmarole or a directory, or unable to get through because the phone lines are down, or a dropped call, whatever the issue may be. So
when is this going to happen then?
So that's what the executive order is for. We needed to act now or before
Yeah.
I think I
because
saw the truck down there.
they were at the police.
week.
Yes. So the police station, in order to keep on their schedule, they needed to act now. In order for us to get this pricing, we needed to all go in
And I had to
together.
sign this before Thanksgiving, like
Yes.
literally the day before, because it needed to be done at a
Sorry.
certain time. No, it's okay.
So it was
Said
strike
was
while the iron's
An
hot.
additional $7,200 a year. Do we have the money to cover, or are we gonna
We
get
will.
that at a town meeting?
I believe that we have the money to cover this in our own budget.
Okay.
However, I also know of other areas that we've saved because we made changes with an insurance carrier, if you remember, and that came in under. So we have means to transfer in case we have an issue.
Do we know if, not if, when we get that hookup with TMLP, is this gonna be better? Is what TMLP is gonna offer us, help us with this?
Well, it will be faster internet, for sure, cleaner internet, in the sense of it's quicker, and
Right.
I'm assuming it's cheaper because it'll be through TMLP. So I think we'll see that, but this brings us into an appropriate step.
We have to. We don't have any other capability.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So I appreciate the questions and the support. And Mrs. Brady, because we could not have done anything without her. She's
Well, nothing gets done. That's like the preface
she was
to
amazing.
everything.
She was amazing, and she did this amazing chart, and I appreciate it.
All right.
She's got a toolkit with a hand.
That's why I'm behaving tonight. All right. I am accepting motions pursuant to item 8E on the agenda this evening.
I'll make a motion to approve the executive order authorized by Chairman Brett Socraffus to update and revamp the phone system townwide in Comcast. And do I need to put a figure on this?
If
The
you'd
motion.
like, but I don't think so.
I
I mean, you
don't,
don't need to. We
As
just-
prepared this evening.
as prepared this evening.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I don't like doing executive orders, so I do appreciate the support on
Sometimes it
it.
has to be
Don't
done.
order us to build a
Right,
wall.
no, never.
We'll be all set.
Never. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. The motion passes. And
Second
good work,
page now.
colleagues. Right?
Can.
Next on the agenda is to, my favorite part was how you instinctively grabbed the paper and didn't even look up. It's like, he's been indoctrinated, folks. Okay, is to review and approve the meeting schedule for the first half of 2019. I think it's self-explanatory, but after reviewing this, do my colleagues have any comments, questions, concerns about the schedule as prepared this evening?
I have no comments or questions about it.
I just wanted to thank you for doing this, because and you did it before I was like, we need to get this on in December. Boom, you already nailed it. Selectman Goulart, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve as presented?
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second, and of course, and I know you will do this, if we could get this online so I can start sending it
Yes.
out. All right.
Just wrote post schedule as you were saying that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. And of course, if we do have to have a special town meeting for the Council Oak land issue, we will be sure to get that information out. It is not on here, obviously. Okay, next on the agenda this evening, we have a couple reserve fund transfer requests, and the first one on the agenda is the mega insurance audit, Madam Administrator.
This is an audit that they perform, and we have to pay it. It stinks because it's not a planned for expense, but it's something that we have to have done. Mega is our workers' comp carrier.
Motion to approve a request for transfer from the reserve fund in the amount of $3,504.
I'll second that motion.
No, I'm not finished yet, wait a minute.
Well, you stopped.
To be
Because
transferred from where? Just the reserve fund, okay. To transfer from reserve, $3,504 to account 010, 912-70-5173, benefits workers' comp insurance, to cover an increase in the premium.
All set?
Yep.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. And last for the reserve fund transfer request is the 5% increase for scheduling, for a scheduling function for the communications center.
So we're actually not going to go forward with a transfer with this because some more things need to be taken care of. The union contract for this position cites for this department cites a certain position that under it is scheduling, but it doesn't match up with what other unions are getting, and it's a pay equity issue. So myself, the police chief, and this employee are working together to rectify it, and some other things came up, which is why it's not ready for tonight.
Okay,
So we will
that's
table?
Move to table 5% increase for scheduling function, hyphen, communication center,
I'll
to a
second
future
that.
meeting.
I'm sorry I interrupted you again, Nancy.
No
I'll second that
problem.
motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes.
Years ago, we had a mega audit. They hadn't audited us for 7 years.
I'm scared to know what that cost was. Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. It was like gas.
Yeah.
7 years. It's better if they, when they come, they're gonna hit you.
So
But if
just
they come every year.
incrementalism is
yeah,
great.
but-
Couple hundred here or there. All right, and we already did 8H, so we're going to move on to correspondence. I know we don't normally read the correspondence, but I do think it is appropriate to read this evening, and I will be as quick as possible. This came in on November 8th, 2018. It's from a resident concerning Mr. Ferry and the Highway Department. Selectman Zagrafos, I'm writing to you about Highway Superintendent Tom Ferry and his work crew. The Highway Department worked on my street, School Street, this fall, improving drainage. The work was done in pieces over a period of about 6 weeks. There were days when the weather was nice. I would have my windows open to enjoy some fresh air. I would occasionally hear the crew working. At no point in time did I hear any appropriate language or see any questionable gestures. In addition, the crew was very cooperative about moving dump trucks and other construction vehicles so I could get out for errands and other appointments. I contacted Mr. Ferry in late October about the status of the work. The job was completed within 2 days. I'm glad to write you about how well this work was managed. The town is lucky to have Mr. Ferry and his crew. Sincerely, Ann Connor. You have really nice penmanship.
I know,
I'm not
isn't it
used-
so nice?
O'Connor, thank you. I knew I was missing something. My apologies, Miss O'Connor. We get a lot of emails and letters about things going wrong, which we appreciate because sometimes we need that to be brought to our attention. I want to thank you for taking the time, Miss O'Connor, to write us. We also are very aware of how lucky we are to have Mr. Ferry and the Highway Department, the team that he has assembled. So I know he appreciates it, we appreciate it, I know you appreciate it. So thank you so much for writing us and for acknowledging Mr. Ferry's and the Highway Department's professionalism and efficiency. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And good work, Mr. Ferry and team. Next on the agenda, we have announcements. I'm just gonna, actually, you may do them. I feel weird
thank you.
saying that, like I'm granting you some.
Oh, thank you very much. I just want to let everybody know that I am a member of the Dayton Historical Society, so I'm a little biased on this, but the Dayton Historical Society, the Winslow Davis Museum, will have a celebration of Victorian Christmas on Friday, December 7th at 2018, from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Dayton Historical Society. We have a speaker come in. Her name is Diane Taraz, and if weather permitting, assuming she can get here, she'll be here around at the museum around 6 o'clock, and she'll be singing Christmas carols. She'll be talking about Victoria. Did you just laugh?
No, I was like, oh.
And talk about the Victorian Christmas. The museum will be decorated by the members, and I would ask and urge people to come to the museum.
Absolutely.
It is...
You can continue.
Yes, it's being sponsored by the Dayton Cultural Council is providing the funds for
Oh,
this.
that's nice.
So,
Fantastic.
the society thanks them. And it was already mentioned earlier about the Dayton Lions Food Bank distribution will be held on December 15th, and the annual toy distribution will be held on December 18th. On December 1st, we have the filler truck, is it called?
Stuffer Cruiser.
Stuffer Cruiser.
Stuff the cruiser.
9 to 2 p.m.
2 p.m., and I would urge people to come in and donate new toys or clothing for children. Would be appreciated.
Selectman Goulart, did you have any announcements?
No,
All right.
we just got all those vacancies we're still trying to fill on various committees.
Although that Trails, now we have the bylaw review committee, so.
Yep.
But the Trails committee filled up like that.
Yeah, they
so.
did. And they already had, oh, that's, I meant to,
Here's your
I'm
announcement.
getting bad at reporting. Let's file this under Selectmen's report. So I did go to the Trails Committee meeting. They organized, they set a meeting schedule. They are going to, over the course of, the next few months or year, they will have various different experts like Serpid's Bill Napolitano come in and kind of discuss how to link up Dayton trails to other towns, surrounding towns or cities' trails. So more to come on that. But it was very nice. Almost all new faces, which is really nice. And I let them know that the board thanked them for volunteering, and it was nice to see new people.
Very good.
Giving their time to the town.
You mentioned Bill Napolitano. I poked my head into the cemetery commission meeting, and Mr. Pacheco said that Bill reminded him that there's still time, 20 hours? Was that what you said? You know, we were talking
Well,
about
yes,
CCC?
yes. But
Second round
And
of
he
grant
had a
funding?
certain, oh, okay.
Well, what I mentioned was that the 40B committee is using Serpent for the Dayton Housing Production Plan. And I was told at that meeting that we're using the 20 hours from the Board of Selectmen, or we're using hours from the Board of Selectmen, which I wasn't sure how we got to use those. So we're keeping track of that. They're going to be at our next meeting. They're doing a lot of work for us, and we appreciate it. So how?
To address that, that would just be, through the CCC, they gave Serpid a certain amount of money for a certain amount of hours.
10,000.
Yep. And it just means that Mr. Napolitano or Serpid was just able to do their work in less time.
So
So,
that's why
So
there's
that's-
time available.
yeah.
Okay.
And so what I had said,
I
and
was kind of asking it as a question.
yeah, and so
I figured that's how it
what I
worked.
had mentioned was the second round of funding for CCC, we should think about projects.
Absolutely.
And somebody mentioned something for the cemetery commission that really sounds really interesting. They have to rent ground penetrating radar equipment,
We rented last year,
but
and we
they
actually,
talked about acquiring a piece. And I said, maybe CCC money.
Mm-hmm.
So they were talking about that, but it would be a good project if we could do it.
it's expensive.
And
but,
and just to your point, even if we didn't do that particular best practice or project or whatever you want to call it, I think CCC has been kind of the gift that keeps on giving, so I do think that we need to investigate that
And
second
in
round.
addition to that, I'm looking into something for watershed management. I have no idea what that's gonna be about, but that's under stormwater. And the other thing was, at Lights On, it was mentioned, it would be great to have a teleprompter. And I said to,
Is that for the singers?
Or just a book with lyrics. We don't need
teleprompter.
some paper with words on it.
And so what I said to Ms. Marvel was, if you get an idea on what that would cost, we might be able to see if we can put together as a best practice, because it would be used at public events and everything. But these are just possible projects for best practice to see if we can get any more CCC grant money.
Did they, so my question
Just a
for you,
thought.
I don't want to get too far off
No,
topic,
I
but
just
no,
meant-
but I'm really curious. Do you remember how for the first round, they had like that two-sided paper, or maybe it was even two papers,
All the
four
laws,
sides?
Yes.
Do they have that for the second round, or are they using just the same, it's just, these are the best practices?
My understanding is
round.
that I'll call it a spreadsheet, and all those classifications, because when we started, if you remember, we picked, well, that sounds good, we picked a number of them, then we kept narrowing it down. My understanding is that is still the master list.
That's perfect.
So-
we could have done a million things on that list.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We don't want to be greedy, but.
So,
We do? Yes, we do.
But now we've got those potentials. Maybe the cemetery commission, maybe the stormwater committee, maybe the cable committee. Just because people said, gee, if we had. So, yeah, we gotta go back to the original file.
What is this,
This is for community
not for right
compact
now.
cabinet.
No, I know. I've never seen that spreadsheet, so if we could, or,
We'll have to look in the folder for CCC.
it's a list of best practices,
big
like
piece of
what they'll
paper.
award
So-
money
all
for.
Right,
little
so I was
boxes.
looking online, because I'm trying to find out when that second round opens, and if we have to actually have it definitively finished.
It's open. They've already given out 77,000.
Okay.
Because when I went to that selectmen's meeting at Devon's,
Right.
the
Which
lieutenant
you
governor was the
reported on it.
speaker. Yes.
And it prompted me to look.
Yep.
And then I think there's something in my mind about how we had to have a definitive finish to at least one of our community compacts.
Oh, we have. Stormwater's done.
Stormwater and the right to farm.
So are you reporting?
We're done.
Agricultural commission.
Yeah.
Those two are
It
done.
wasn't even right to farm, you're
It was
right. Yeah, those
agricultural.
have been done for a
Both of
while.
those are done. Mine was expanding the education program.
Did you do this multiple times?
No, this is our
We've
first,
only done
our
one?
first shot. We actually submitted 3. We only had to submit 1. We came up
Yeah.
with 3. And the open space thing is the one that's
So
open.
I had one in West Bridgewater, my contact, he kept asking, how are you with this, how are you with this? Do you have somebody that you're notifying that you're finished for stormwater?
I think it goes back through, I want to say Dean Cronin? Was that the name? No, Sean Cronin, not Dean Cronin.
Right,
Yeah,
Sean Cronin was mine too.
S-E-A-N.
Sean Cronin was mine as well. So, yeah, not that Sean Cronin,
Yeah.
the state
Yes,
Sean Cronin.
yes.
So I'll take a
DOR.
look at, I'm gonna take a look at the files and then we'll
Yeah.
go forward with that. Okay.
Good.
To that point, can we have the community compact, can we have a discussion about the CCC when we have a little more info? Maybe we've contacted Sean on our next meeting on the 12th? Whether that be hashing out where we are with completing the first round or submitting an application or what we're gonna do for the second round, but
Yeah.
I'd like
And
to
I
get that on an agenda.
just to throw this out there, I think facilities management could also be considered a best practice because it's, maintaining routine maintenance on your buildings and keeping up with what you need to do, which prevents
The one thing-
larger costs of like leaking.
One thing you cannot do is pay labor. You
I'm
couldn't
not,
hire
but-
somebody.
right, exactly,
No.
but
That
like
was the only
rolling
thing that I
out
remember was,
programs to get it started.
if we could have, when you and Karen have a chance, if you pull out that big paper and photo it on a big piece, and each one of us get that again, because Brett and I have seen it, Mr. Pacheco has not.
I have it.
Okay.
Just for later, whenever you have time, I know you barely have time, but it is in the cabinet, I have a top drawer, that little black cabinet where I have everything, and it is a folder titled Community Compact Cabinet, it's all in there.
Take a look at it.
Yep,
Okay.
the original list and all
And she
that.
didn't say anything about deadlines or anything. All she said was,
Good.
get your best practices in. We've already paid out 77,000. And I thought, ooh, we gotta get moving on that.
So we'll start that discussion next time, and then we should send a follow-up email to Mr. Cronin, Sean, S-E-A-N, and let him, and let him know that we completed the AgCom and also we completed the stormwater part. Okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So we'll show him we get stuff done.
And get the checks ready.
We're coming back.
Because we're like Oliver
We're gonna
Twist.
bleed that well dry. All right. Do we have any selectmen's reports?
Well, we all were at Lights On. Great event,
Oh,
well
always.
attended.
I love
Always.
it. I love it so much.
I know. It is.
I just,
The,
the DR marching band is unbelievable and I'm just blown away.
So you were out, but Selectman Goulart goes, yeah, maybe we could look into like getting a virtual or teleprompter. I go, how about just words on a paper? If we don't have to get the teleprompter,
How about
just the
singing
words.
lessons, maybe? It was like,
I bet Senator Pacheco has a good voice.
No,
I'm
no,
like,
no,
you.
now, Mr. Marvel said it would be great to have a teleprompter. I says, get the cost and get some ideas and let us know. Maybe we can do something with
Yeah.
CCC.
But
Or
we know
even
the
like
words.
a virtual board out there somewhere, like.
Well, we know the words of Jingle Bells and Santa Claus is coming.
You know
I thought
what?
I knew the
We
word.
struggled on, what's the
Chico.
one we struggle with? Good tidings to you. Not that you want to hear me sing that
Wish you a
one.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, that one, because there's like
We
the
did
the
struggle
figgy
on
I don't know
pudding.
anything past
The
Good
figgy
Tidings for
pudding
you.
is like, because they like start getting demanding, and you're like, wait a minute. this
I didn't
isn't a
even
great
know what you were
Christmas
saying when you were saying that. I go, what is footy pudding?
Figgy pudding.
No idea what that
Bring us
is. Like,
some figgy pudding.
no idea.
So we'll practice for you all and be great next
We'll
year.
be ready next year.
Okay, Monday night, I attended the Rehoboth Board of Selectmen meeting and gave them the proclamation that we voted and signed, and they were
Nice.
very happy. There may be a picture in that little paper, I can't think of it, the
wow.
booklet paper, because somebody took pictures.
We hope it's reported.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. I attended the library program last night at the Old Town Hall. It was a good program. The attendance was low, but the one thing we all commented on was the acoustics in that room are excellent. Excellent. I think if we have a town meeting there, I think Mr. McKeon is going to be very pleased because it was just excellent. You didn't need a mic or
I
anything.
was just gonna ask that.
And I think, I thought the gentleman had a mic in his hand, but it was the clicker to control the laptop. But it was.
Did everyone like the like how it
The
looked
people
inside?
that were there for the first time, they were in awe of the building because they remembered it when it was the Grange Hall.
I remember it when it was
Just thought
green.
It was wonderful. And the presenter lives in Dayton,
Mm-hmm.
and he thought, yes, he thought it was just
I
beautiful.
didn't know that.
I still haven't seen the before pictures, so those are gonna be out for the opening, so I can't wait to see them.
And tonight, I attended a meeting of the Berkeley Board of Selectmen as the Dayton representative to the Attleboro-Taunton Home Consortium. And I was there to ask them to please appoint somebody who will attend 2 meetings a year, because the March meeting is the budget meeting, and if we don't have a quorum, we don't get the money. I was overwhelmed that Mrs. Cochran, as selectman, volunteered, and they appointed a backup person, and the volunteer was the chairman of the board, Mr. Miller. So I was very pleased that tonight Berkeley has a rep and an alternate, and I gave him minutes and stuff and said, we really need you there. So I hope,
They show up.
I gotta find out who else is not showing up.
You're gonna pick them up, Selectman Goulart, on the way there.
No, I told him the last time I appeared before that board was years ago when I needed a counterpart for the Berkeley-Dayton Bridge, and a selectman volunteered so that we could coordinate for DOT. So I was very, very happy tonight that that happened, so.
Do you have any reports,
No, I don't.
Selectman
No.
Pacheco? All right. Do we have any acknowledgements this evening? All right. We do, well, I do want to do one acknowledgement. Thank you to the Holiday Committee for putting on such a fantastic,
yeah,
as
lights on.
always, lights on ceremony. We appreciate it. I know you're all volunteers and you do it year after year, but you do a fantastic job, so thank you for representing the town and portraying us in such a great light. Next on the agenda are the minutes. And first is the approval of minutes from our regular meeting of October 24th, 2018.
Are there minutes in the package?
I think Karen's getting
We got
them
it
right
before.
now.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of October, Selectmen's regular meeting on October 24th, 2018.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. And next, we are hopefully going to accept for review the minutes of our regular meeting of November 14th, 2018. Well, we're gonna accept it. You don't need to give them to us right now because we're gonna review them before our meeting on the 12th. So do I have a motion to accept for review the minutes of that meeting,
I'll
November 14th?
make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it, and that motion passes. Approval of the warrant, Selectman Goulart.
Mr. Chairman, I move that warrant 21A-19 in the amount of $102,924.49 payroll. Warrant 21B-19 in the amount of $191,232.90 accounts payable, both dated November 21st, and warrants 22A-19 in the amount of $94,529.45 payroll. 22B-19 in the amount of $21,261.57 payroll. Agenda item 22C-19 in the amount of $81,909.75, and 22D-19 in the amount of $369.33, the last two being accounts payable, dated November 28th, be approved.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Public input?
I actually have one item.
We don't
really
have
quickly,
any
I'm
public?
sorry.
Okay.
I forgot to mention, and it's relative to the evaluations process. Just for next meeting, we need to determine if the three of you are going to collectively evaluate the employees, or if you're going to designate me. If you do it in yourselves, which is fine, it has to be in open session.
I feel like you're
So I
being a
just need
little
you to
too
vote.
gracious tonight. You are the personnel manager. It does not make sense for us to be evaluating people when you are the personnel manager. So I am going to support you out of the goodness of my heart, because I don't want to do that work. No, I'm just kidding. I just think it should come from you. Also, why would we be doing three different sets of, like, it's enough to have to do your evaluation where we all do it separately. So do we have any objections to this?
I don't.
We're going to use the form that we approved.
The form that we
Right.
approved,
Have
and then
they
the
seen
job
it yet?
descriptions.
Or do they-
Yes.
Do they
yes.
understand, their role in their evaluation?
I hope so. I mean, I haven't really belabored the point.
Obviously,
but
the
we'll
first
make
time
sure.
around-
It's simple the first time
Right.
around. There's just, it is what it is. But this, we just have to get all of our job descriptions all set, and then they're gonna agree to those, and then, we'll go forward.
Are you okay
And
with
if
doing
anybody
the
has a problem,
evaluations?
yes, I am.
Okay.
I am.
And my understanding is it will, like, we see it before we approve it.
You'll get them.
Okay, all right. We don't need to vote on that, do we?
Next meeting.
Okay, all right. Well, the understanding is,
Right.
okay. Next, I'm going to entertain, as chairman, I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, exceptions 3 and 6. 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, I do so declare. And 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate. If the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body, I do so declare. Open session will not reconvene.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. That motion passes. Roll call.
Aye.
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 All right. Cable, thank you so much. We appreciate you hanging.